Way back in the day, this whole story kicks off with an ancient drawing of legendary heroes, revealing how that legendary party once banded together with monsters to smash terrifying, planet-level disasters. This crew had a name that traveled far. Everywhere they went, people called them Legion. And running the entire crew was Shin, the guy who translated everything, no matter what it was. He and his crew spent every day chasing the impossible together, like nothing could stop them. And this is how Shun and his crew burst onto the scene and made history. But then it all flips. Shin hears his teammate choke out an "I'm sorry," and before he can even breathe, he gets kicked out. He storms off, slams his fist on the table, and demands to know why this is happening. He reminds her they promised to reach A rank together as a team, and then he pauses, like the next move is going to hit like a punch. But he keeps screaming that she knows it's the truth. Jason, the leader of the Golden Fleece, snaps into a furious shout, demanding to know why he's not good enough, because a hero like him needs teammates who are way better than that. Jason admits he knows Shin's busting his ass, but Shin clenches his fist anyway, because he's been friends with him since they were kids. And he's done everything just to keep up. Jason doesn't care at all. He blasts Shin's gift as useless for combat, calling him half-baked over and over from swords to magic making. Medea steps in to finish the job. She's another monster in the group, and she holds nothing back. She meets his gaze and snaps that he's nothing but a burden, which... that line really punches through. She brings up how, in their last quest, he couldn't even land a clean hit on a troll. Shin drops his gaze and admits she's right, then scrambles to argue he was at least a flawless decoy for them. As he stares at his teammates, he realizes they're not judging a single fight. They're reading his entire track record, and the truth hits hard. He can't name a single real skill that can actually end a battle. He glares at his scarred, rough hands from years of brutal work, and it's not like he skipped training for even a second. He's just got that sinking truth in his gut. No matter what he does, his sword skills can't ever match Jason's. And here's the crushing part. He can't touch Medea's high-level magic, and he can't pull off the healing tricks Asu's team built either. He's stuck in a brutal spot, and Shin finally feels it. His special gift is hitting the edge. Medea just locks onto him with those ice-cold eyes and says the party's stepping up to A rank now, and they've barely begun. And their plan is to forge Jason into a legendary hero. Straight up, she tells him that a gift like the Universal Translator means he won't stand a chance of keeping up with the wild battles they've got lined up next. Medea tells Shin she can't keep up anymore, and Shin finally drops his gaze, swallowing the truth that they've already sealed their fate. He blurts out, "Do you know they're kicking you out too?" Like he can't believe it, wondering if the whole team is really on board. Jason snaps into defensive mode, stammers that he's already told her, then she ignores him and goes straight to Medea. She doesn't blink once, staring him down like this is set in stone, because the whole group has already agreed on the call. She turns and walks off, calling his name one last time, thanking him for everything he's done for them so far. Shin stands there alone and shaking, fist clenched tight as it hits him. She's right about him. He shouts one last time, warning Jason not to get cocky, then turns to Medea and orders her to watch over him, and she tells him, "Of course I will," like she's basically Jason's right-hand woman at this point. Jason snaps, loses control, and screams that he doesn't need any advice. Then he turns on Shin, saying losers like him should just get lost. Jason roars at him to ditch every last item and all their gold if it all looks crushed. Then he insists he'll still swing back later and deliver everything to the guild. Hold up, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and stick around for more. For more hidden manga gems, go on, I dare you to comment. Comment down below. I'm absolutely loving this, and I bet most of you are too. If you're not doing it, then don't got it. All right, now let's keep going. In this world, being an adventurer isn't a fantasy. It's a real job, where you tackle everything from hunting monsters to... It's not just about hunting treasure. Every quest is powered by a ranking ladder, starting at apprentice level and climbing all the way to legends who have saved the world. She admits he's no different from the rest, chasing that top-tier hero rank, while he leans into a bartender and demands another drink. He stumbles through the city streets, clutching a bottle in his hand, thinking about how his old party is actually the top-rated crew in town. And he remembers the moment it all began back in their little hometown. Just him, Jason, and Ath, blazing out together, chasing dreams big enough to change everything. They weren't always unstoppable. Back then, even a few basic goblins could bulldoze the whole team and grind them into a tough fight. She was always right there for Jason, especially the moment he started losing it, and that usual rampage came roaring back. Somehow they pulled it off. Then the second Medea slid into the squad, their name exploded and their careers took off, but while everyone else kept leveling up, Shin finally realized something was wrong. his growth had totally stalled, and no matter how hard he pushed, he couldn't stay on their level. He clenches his fist, raging with frustration, because he knows the only reason he's trapped like this is that freaky gift he was born with. In this world, everybody gets a gift, this wild, random power that just erupts in their life one day. And that choice pretty much locks in your whole future. Meanwhile, Shin lies there, staring at the ceiling, spiraling over one brutal question. Would he have been happier if he'd never become an adventurer? He stares at his card, wishing the power it grants would finally help him in a real fight instead of this useless stuff. And he flashes back to those simpler days when they were just kids, running around and playing together before life got messy. She swings straight for the Adventurers Guild, and the moment she arrives, someone's roaring Yumi, like they've got her life in there. He shoves those massive front doors wide and strides into the main hall. The second he steps in, the whole room erupts with whispers. Everyone's pointing at him like, that's the guy who just got booted out of the Golden Fleece. A bunch of dudes start cackling like, finally, he's getting the boot, because apparently a translator never had any business in a top-tier squad in the first place. Trash talk keeps rolling in. People swear the only reason he's even here is because his friends felt sorry for him, and it drives. Yumi's body starts trembling like it can't hold it in anymore. Then she finally snaps, screaming at everyone to shut up, because real adventurers don't drag each other through the mud. Angelina snaps at the loud crowd to clear out, and the guys finally scatter, each one hurrying back to their own business. She whirls around to Shin, who's standing there, and tells him she's Angelina, a guild staffer, and she's insanely relieved she finally found him. Angelina says she already heard the rumor about him getting kicked out. Then she grabs his hand and tells him to follow her to the back so they can talk in private. Once they're finally alone, she snatches up every coin and piece of gear he brought from his old crew, then logs the whole haul with the guild like it's official business. Angelina gets downright furious. After everything he did for the Golden Fleece, she's telling him he shouldn't have to hand any of this back. Shin just gapes at his own hands, swallowing the fact that Jason was right. He's got basically zero fighting power, and he can only hope to land a lucky shot on a D-rank all by himself. But Angelina shuts down that self-doubt fast. She snaps that he's dead wrong about who he really is. She locks eyes with him and with expert confidence declares he's an easy C-rank adventurer, even if he's flying solo with no party. She even offers to line him up with another top-tier beer, right away, and that ant group looks like it's been getting crushed by how kind she's been. Shin softly tells her he wants to try the solo life first, and the moment her face drops with that realization, she blurts out a quick apology for being a little too pushy. Shin looks way more locked in now, saying he's ready to find out what he can really pull off alone. Then he tells Angelina that her support was the spark that gave him the push he needed. And Angelina clocks the moment as the perfect opening. She snaps his name out loud and tells him she's got a specific quest that only he can handle. She yanks out a folder and blurts that a sudden horde of orcs has spilled into the nearby caves, then stares him down and asks if he'll go wipe them out. She warns him that if he brings back the ears like always, she'll make sure he walks away with a juicy, solid bounty for the job. But she's got her own special request. She wants him to see if that method can dig him straight into the cave's darkest depths. She knows this job means extra sweat, so she straight up promises him a separate bonus for the investigation, on top of the usual reward. Angelina grabs his attention and warns, I'm going to keep repeating this until you finally believe me, because she's seen every ounce of effort he poured into his old crew and the guild. She beams at him with this big, warm smile, grips his hand tight, and swears that even if everything feels awful today, something amazing is coming. She's seen it play out with enough adventurers to know it's inevitable. Shun's face turns bright red. He blurts out a thank you and stammers, then rage takes over. He asks her to go to dinner with him. Then he panics and backpedals so fast, saying it was only a joke. Angelina just freezes on the spot, stunned to the core, then screams at herself in her own head over what she's even telling him. Angelina tells Shin she's got 2 rules for this job. First, he has to come back in one piece, and right as Shin starts to ask what the second one is. When she winks at him and demands he take her out to a top-notch restaurant, she flashes that playful look like, deal, and Shin is so pumped he literally springs into the air, joy blasting out of him as he bolts forward and yells at the top of his lungs. He strides to the town's carriage stop, grabs the first ride out, and heads straight for the dungeon. While he's there, one horse spots that he's radiating good vibes and asks if something great just happened. Shen says yes, and the horse cuts him off, telling him to ditch the small talk and just hand over a carrot. The horse blurts that it's starving for fresh, green grass, and Shin just nods like, don't worry, I got this. He can't help but think to himself, this is exactly how his translator power really works. It lets him talk to animals, and even monsters, but he still can't shake the feeling he should have scored a combat gift like the Sword Saint instead. He knows that if he had something built for taking on Jason and the others, they'd never have booted him out. As he settles into the carriage, a bunch of rough-looking thugs roll in and ask, grinning, if he minds them taking a seat with him. In the carriage, the rough-looking guys clock a girl all alone with her hood up, and one of them jabs a finger at her like he's about to say something wild, remarking that she looked like she was rolling solo, so he slid closer and asked if she'd join their crew, swearing she'd get an even cut of whatever they managed to find. Then the moment cut off right there, with the but the G hanging in the air. The guy bursts into laughter and says the deal even covers nighttime activities too, and Shin just sits there watching it all unfold, until the offer starts to go south quickly. The girl shuts him down in an instant. She tells him she's not teaming up with anyone weaker than her, and then basically says even a little kid could hit on girls better than he can. He loses his temper on the spot, snaps at her, then yanks back a huge fist to cut her off and Shin clocks it. This is about to explode into chaos. Yet before the guy even gets a punch off, the girl zips in like lightning, snags him, and hurls him over her shoulder. He slams onto the carriage floor, terror flooding his face, while she rips a blade from her side and growls that if he keeps this up, she'll make sure he never breathes again. He starts trembling, pleading for her to stop, insisting it was all just a joke. She's frozen in total shock, right there, and he realizes her speed is on a whole other level, even quicker than Jason, so she snaps her focus toward him and Shin scrambles to explain it to her, saying the other adventurers would probably cheer if she took the guy out. Then he snaps his own words back and admits they wouldn't celebrate at all, they'd straight up attack her. He scratches the back of his head, tells her he'll remember it and walks off, leaving the girl frozen, staring like, wait, what did he just mean? The hooded girl sheathes her sword like it's no big deal, shrugs it off as nothing, and Shin just stands there, stunned, trying to figure out what the heck went down. But as everyone breaks off and plunges into the woods, Shin just flashes a quick goodbye to the group, then turns to face the mysterious girl. He plants himself on a shadowy cliff, torch blazing in his grip, and hammers the truth into his own head. It's time to get it together, because he's finally moving out. And right there, hanging off the cave wall, he spots a familiar face, slime and all dripping down like it never left. Shen blurts out a hello, and the slime answers, saying it's been ages since they last crossed paths. Shen drops down to chat as that stray slime, Lime, munches herbs, and when Shen looks closer, he realizes the little troublemaker is secretly taking a solo exam, so. Lime leans in and asks if Shin's going to stay solo from here on out, and Shin shoots back, not forever, then immediately flips it, because he can't figure out why that slime is even asking. Lime wastes no time and blurts out, asking if she'll let him bring her along on his journey. He double-checks that the annoying blonde leader and the gloomy mage are truly gone, because he's dying to finally hit the road on an adventure with Shin. Shin can't help it, he's genuinely touched by the offer, staring at that little slime like it's the best gift he could have asked for. Lime starts cracking jokes about saving a princess someday, and just like that, boom, he officially slides into Shin's party. Lime bounces along on Shin's shoulder as they kick off their journey, peppering him with one question, what's the exact plan? Shen cranes his neck at the bats swarming in the cave, says they're tracking an orc outbreak, and then leans in to ask Lime if he's heard anything. So Lime pauses, digs into his memories, and drops the bombshell. He heard the orcs just crowned a brand new leader. Turns out this new chieftain hates humans, so the orcs that usually stay in the shadows have burst out and started roaming everywhere. Shen suddenly realizes the entire pack's behavior flipped because of that one guy at the top, while Lime snaps at him to keep his guard up, because then it all cuts to. They should agree they're going to have to be way more careful with the investigation, and they thank the little slime for the heads up. He spots 3 goblins up ahead, nothing that'll wipe him out, but ignoring them now would come back as a brutal headache later. So Shen grabs his sword and tells Lime, let me go first, clear them out, because he can't stand it when they charge the moment they spot him. He surges forward and slices straight through the whole group with one razor-clean swing. Sheathed his sword, shut it down clean, Shintel's Lime was done, and that slime practically cheered him for the lightning-fast work. Lime blurts out this super weird rant about a website, but she just pokes him and shouts, hold on, because they literally met today. She just nods after I say the little slime session's name, and it's like she's locking in the plan we talked about earlier. He stalks through the dark cave with a torch blazing, then asterisk whoosh. An arrow screams past his face and asterisk thud, pins itself in the ground right at his feet. Soshin grinds to a halt, whips his head around at the shadows, and snaps, what the hell is all this supposed to mean? A crew of guys storms in, and their leader sneers at Shin for staying so calm, slamming him as a washed-up B-rank adventurer who's already gone to rot. Shen just stares at them and blurts that he doesn't remember doing a thing to make them this furious. Then he clocks them as the same dudes from the tavern. The leader barks at him to shut up, calling out that Shin's old captain made them all look like clowns, so now they're dumping that anger right on him. Shin realizes Jason is still messing with his life even after the exile, and he finally snaps, because that guy was bad at getting anyone to understand him from the start. He tells them they're only picking on him because he's alone, then hits back with the fact that cowards are why they're all trapped at Sea-Ring. He admits taking on 8 guys at once is going to be pure misery, then whips around and demands, are they really sure they want this? Shin reminds everyone that the guild bans adventurers from brawling with each other, but the bald leader only chuckles and fires back. Who in the world actually cares about the rules? He leans in with a filthy glare and snarls that if Shin drops dead in this cave, there'll be nobody left to run and report them. Shen doesn't even flinch. He just tells them that if they're going to come at him like that, then he has every reason to stop holding back. For one wild second, the cave goes dead silent, and even with Shin just standing there with his torch, the leader starts to look shaky, like nerves are creeping in. He tries to shake it off by snapping at Shin to stop trying to scare them, then blurts out, what can a loser with a busted translator, trash, and a stupid gift even do? Shin flicks him a cold smirk and promises he's about to show them how a real translator fights, but the leader snaps it's a bluff and orders his boys to take him down. Right before they can even move, this giant thumping boom starts pounding through the tunnel, and the goons instantly freeze, then whip their heads around, terrified. Then boom, Lime rockets into the glow, yelling that the hero is here, and rushing to apologize for the delay because it took a full minute to march the orcs over. Shin grins because the lure nailed it perfectly. Then one of the guys snaps awake, spots the danger, and screams that an entire pack of orcs is closing in on them. From the dark, the orcs explode into a charge, slashes of light in the chaos, while their leader jabs forward and roars for the pack to tear into the humans, because their chief is about to be thrilled by the catch. That bald leader is sweating buckets now, begging Shin, please, can't we team up so we can survive? Shen tightens his grip on his blade and hisses that he's not dying here, not when these guys are the ones who have the nerve. He sizes up the 15 orcs and thinks, we can take this if everyone goes all in. But the second he says that out loud, a sour feeling hits him, like he can't stand the thought of the guys getting killed, so he hesitates. We'll hold the line for a moment, then bolt the second, a real opening shows up. She flicks the arrow out of the air like it's nothing, then snaps at the old man to stay sharp, because he clocks the enemy leader in the back, snaps orders to everyone, hit the big targets from range, while the frontline fights to stay standing. Shin thinks it's almost time to make his escape, then he spots the cave acting totally off and he snaps, what's going on? He tells Lime straight up that the bats are going crazy, asks if the slime can sense that something dangerous is coming, and Lime's like, yeah, he might be right. Suddenly, someone yells that they smell a fight, and Lime's gut drops as she wonders if that Yuya guy is finally about to show up. A massive orc with a jagged knife lunges straight into the light, howling at the top of his lungs, demanding everyone let him in and join the chaos. A hooded figure slips past the human line like a shadow, straight for. A voice roars through the air, demanding to know who the strongest one in the whole place is, catching the old man and the orcs completely flat-footed. A huge orc in a scarf starts roaring at the top of his lungs, begging someone to step up and fight him, but Shin finally snaps to it. No matter how loud that big talk gets, the other orc is right. Normal humans can't understand a single word these monsters spit out. The bald guy snaps, roars, shut your mouth, and swings his sword, only for the monster to cut him down before he can finish the thought. Shin's about to snap. He's staring at a C-rank adventurer, getting wiped out in an instant, realizing this monster can even land the hit, and wondering if it's hiding some special gift. The orc charges at Shin, shouting that you can tell by the way he moves. He's the real powerhouse on their team. Shen yells at Lime to get ready, because, since the slime's already in motion, he insists he knows exactly what needs to happen next, watching it move as he says it. The orc crashes in with a brutal heavy swing, slamming Shin's sword so hard he has to brace with every ounce of strength just to hold the line. The orc is stunned beyond words when Shin actually stops his brutal punch, and then, shocking himself, he admits Shin isn't as bad as he looks. He stomps down to crush the lime under his huge foot, but that slippery little slime darts out of the way. Somehow, it's still gone by the time he tries to finish him. So Lime just bounces off with a casual whoops, while the orc's stomp lands on nothing but dirt. The orc laughs in pure delight at Shin's tamed slime, then tells him, straight to his face, that he's one of the most interesting humans the orc has ever seen. Then they slam into each other again, swords screaming, and Shin strains to keep him pinned, because this guy is nothing but trouble. The more their blades clash, the quicker it hits. This monster might be way stronger than Jason ever thought. Suddenly, Shin feels a voice snap in his ear, barking, "Run left, now right." He moves the exact moment he's told, dodging at the last second, so the hooded girl can zip in and crack the monster with a swing. The girl blurts, "I knew it," and taps the air like it's proof. She's hearing her prophecy perfectly, so that means. So that's it, two of them finally side by side, locked in, ready to smash this massive orc for good. The hooded girl snaps her head back to Chin, checking if he's really okay, and even though she just hauled him out of trouble, she still declares him her savior. Shen scrambles to squeeze out a thank you, but the words tangle up in his mouth, mostly because he can't wrap his head around the fact that she just called him a savior. As he tilts his head up to her, pure shock slams into him. Her hair burns a red so bright it outshines any fire, and the water-like shine curls around her the moment the light hits, and right then, the whole vibe flips to serious as she stands there like a total pro, her cloak snapping in the wind like she's ready for anything. Her blade whips through the air in a blur, screaming with that razor-sharp sound That's when it hits Shin. He finally clocks where he knows her from, because that mystery girl from earlier, yeah, she was the one in the carriage. The orc gets shoved back hard, drops to one knee, and Shin and the girl stand side by side, locked in, ready to end this fight right there in the cave. The girl's pretty annoyed, because somehow that monster actually deflected her strike, but the orc smirks and tells her she's way better than she looks for a human girl. An orc rumbles that he'll never forgive her for lunging into his brawl, then admits, reluctantly, that it might actually make things way more interesting. Meanwhile, Shin just stands there, totally wrecked with stress. She shuts it all out, brushing off the monster's rant, calling him nothing but babble, then presses, "Are you finally ready to stop talking and actually fight?" But deep down, she can't help wondering, maybe this monster is just a complete idiot. She slides her sword free with a clean, effortless motion, smiles as she tells him she truly appreciates the offer. But she's decided, right here, right now, she's going to end him. She rockets forward with a massive strike, but the orc is lightning fast. He snaps his blade up and blocks her clean, making Shin go wide-eyed because he can't believe the monster actually shut her down. Then she whips back through the air, grinning like it's the coolest thing ever, as the orc starts. He lunges in, hand outstretched to snatch her. Then she doesn't even blink, just locks in on his every move. She whips around and crashes in with a massive slash, carving deep into the monster's side. She doesn't let up for a second. She surges right after it and hammers another brutal blow into him while he's still down. The girl spits "Orca bastard," and he just growls back, then snaps, "Little bitch," and both of them are. They're finally smiling for real, and the girl's stunned. She thought the monster would be a total letdown, but he's way better than she ever expected. Shin catches her expression and instantly knows it. These fighters aren't just strong, they're outrageously overpowered, and even though he desperately wants to help, he can't spot a single opening to slip right into the middle of there. They're trading blows back and forth, and she's honestly blown away that he's holding his own this well, yet the orc He gets even more fired up and pushes her to tell him her name. Suddenly, the monster lunges in and yanks her sword with his bare hand, and it leaves. Shin panics because he finally clocks it. The guy took that hit on purpose, all to trap her. While Shin's freaking out over what the monster will do next, the girl snaps and decides she's ending this, right now. He swung a brutal flame sword technique, and boom, an enormous explosion tore the air apart. She's totally stunned by the girl's power, while he can't wrap his head around how she spewed out all that fire without a single chant, and then his mind snaps to it. Was that her real finishing move? While Lime stares at the smoke, convinced that Blast finally killed the orc, Shin barrels over to check the slime, just thrilled his friend is still standing in one piece. But as the smoke finally thins out, two gigantic boots come into view, still planted on the ground, and the girl snaps her head back, stunned that the monster hasn't even fallen yet. The orc general stands there, a dark aura spiraling around him, and tells her straight up, since she showed him a move, he's about to hit her back with one right now. Shin watches the whole thing unfold from the sidelines, and a nasty dread hits him, like the monster is seconds away from pulling off something insane. Suddenly, the orc rockets forward and slams down with a brutal, heavy strike, so fast and powerful the girl barely even processes that she's already in real danger. A massive blade whirls through the air, slick with blood, the impact screaming through every violent exchange. The weapon crashes into the rock wall with a brutal thud, shaking from the impact as the orc looms over the girl. Turns out she juked out at the last second. dodging a hit that would have ended her story on the spot. And the orc locks eyes with her, admits she's the very first person ever to dodge his Yuya Konkin move, and honestly, he looks almost impressed. The girl stared at the orc and finally admitted he wasn't that bad because she truly believed her last strike would finish him. But the monster won't even let her catch her breath, then it slams her with another feral attack, and she's totally blindsided. Lime shouts that the guy is acting super strange, and Shin clocks it instantly. Those orc wounds shouldn't be helping, yet its speed and power keep surging higher. As she fights to keep her footing, Lime throws out a brutal remark about how things are going for her, and that lands like a weight. Now she can't stop wondering if she's got anything left she can do. The orc blasts a deafening roar straight into her face, crushing her nerves so hard she can barely hold her guard up. The monster is shrieking like a maniac, completely swallowed by the chaos of the moment, and he towers over the girl and lifts his weapon high, like one brutal swing is about to end it all. Shin's blood runs cold when he sees the orc slaughter his own people, and he blurts, "You just wiped out your comrades like that." But the orc doesn't care one bit. He snarls for them to get out of his way, because nothing on this earth is stopping his fight, leading. Shin starts wondering if this wild mindset is what folks call a warrior's pride, until he clocks something else. The hooded girl halts in her tracks, twists around and stares back. Something about this whole mess has her nerves screaming as the orc finally speaks up, he throws out a sincere apology, saying sorry for every bit of trouble his partner dragged onto everyone. Shin strides up to the fallen enemies and snaps at the orc warrior, telling him to listen, because he's got something to say, which the girl just doesn't buy it. She snaps, asking what he thinks he's doing, talking to a monster like that. Shen just tells her to back off for a moment and hands the whole mess to him. The orc snaps, asking if Shin's just another obstacle in his path, and Shin fires back that it's nothing like that. He tells the monster, "I've got a deal. Let me heal you up so we can restart this duel the right way." The girl's jaw drops as she blurts out that Shin must be out of his mind, but he just snaps, "Trust me, just watch," and cuts the rest off. And he lunges down to grab it, while the girl just stares, utterly lost. Then Shin leans in and tells him straight, if those wounds don't get healed, the orc dies on the spot, but if they do, he'll live to throw down again another day. Shin fires off a question to the orc about how he feels after the healing, and the monster just stands there as that dark energy around him finally dissolves. The orc stares at his own body, stunned to realize he's totally fine, no pain, no weakness, just shock. He starts flexing his fingers and tapping out weird little sounds, and then boom, he realizes every wound is totally gone. The orc starts twirling his weapon like it's nothing, but Chen steps in fast, telling him he's still drained from all that blood loss, so he needs to calm down. The monster trembled and dripped sweat as he hunched on his sword, trying to play it cool by saying he'll let Shin off, only for Shin to stare stunned like, "Are you seriously an idiot?" Shen snaps at him not to go dying before they can finally clash for real, but then he cuts himself off, because it hits him, he doesn't even know his name. The orc drops his name, Shwain, so Shen fires back his own name, grabs the monster's hand in a solid shake, and they split off down their separate paths. As they stride deeper into the forest, a voice slices through the silence like a blade. The hooded girl stands there, arms crossed, glaring as she snaps at Shin, "What do you think you're doing?" But he shrugs it off like he's just running some harmless little negotiation. He throws an apology at her, saying he should have asked first, but he insists that swearing her into a rematch is the only thing that can make the orc back off, only for her to snap back that that's not even what's freaking her out. The hooded girl is totally stunned, staring at Shin like, "Are you serious? You can really talk to monsters." He casually drops food to a tiny bird as he explains his power. His gift lets him talk to anything with a will, and he can't stop marveling at how incredible that is. Shin shrugs it off like a total dud gift, just for talking, then reminds everyone it even got him booted from his old party. He flashes her a real smile and tells her straight up, even if his power is weak, hearing her praise him is enough to make him genuinely happy. She turns bright red, convinced he has no clue at all, and blurted, "So, what did my voice sound like to you?" She finally clicks, everything lines up, and she realizes that's why her voice always sounded doubled, because her secret is the reason. But he doesn't even flinch, he just waves his hand and thanks her like crazy for saving his life twice. The girl's eyes started to water and her cheeks flamed red, because the moment she realized he could hear her real feelings so clearly, her whole heart just snapped wide open. She snaps, lunges at Shin, slams into a massive hug, and sobs that she finally found her saviors. While she chirps happily because she smells so good, Shin's nerves explode. Her sudden, silky touch throws him into full-on panic. Lime suddenly pops up between them like magic, flashing a casual grin and greeting the two as if it's no big deal. Cassandra jerks back, cheeks burning, and admits she's completely lost in all of this. Turns out her real name is Cassandra, and everyone just calls her the enchanting prophet. Shen snaps that she's the one who needs to apologize, then steps in and reintroduces himself to Lime, right then and there. She says she's been playing solo too, and I'm still stuck on how he talks to beasts like it's nothing. She flashes a warm smile and tells her she has a really beautiful name, then she cuts herself off. He stared up at the sky for a heartbeat, then told him, if you're cool with it. She calls him over, leans in, and asks straight up, are you really serious about forming a party? He's completely blindsided, then blurts the words back to her again and again, like he still can't process what he just heard. Cassandra just gazes at him with that tender, blushing smile, then straight up asks if he really wants to. Things shift back toward the main guild headquarters. Angelina scans the stuff Shin hauled back and clocked it fast. The orc tribe is getting jumpy under its new leader, and she fires off questions about that gifted orc he'd teased, all while she checks today's harvest. He hands him the delivery with a huge thank you, saying this info is exactly what they need to wrap up the plan for the big hunt. She fires the words back at her, and Angelina leans in to say the guild's going to drop an official announcement about it any day now. She says she'd be absolutely thrilled if, when the moment finally hits, he decides to take her up on the request. Shin pauses mid-thought, realizes how wild today's been, and then boom, he suddenly remembers those guys from earlier. He leans in and asks her if those guys who tried to start a fight with him this morning ever made it back to the guild. Angelina says she hasn't heard a single word from them yet, and even though the guys are veterans who shouldn't be pulling any dumb moves, you can still see worry hanging in her eyes. And then leans in, asking her straight out if something went down out there that she never told him. Before he can even get a word out, she shoots him a piercing look and vows that whatever happens, she'll always have his back. Shin's palms start to sweat as he forces a calm smile, insisting it was no big deal, like they just happened to pass each other in the cave, and Angelina locks eyes with him for a second, then tells him she won't pry if that's his story, but the suspicion in her stare screams louder than her words. Suddenly, she slams her hands down, lines in close, and demands to know who the woman was that he came back with. A jolt of fear flashes across her face as she snaps, asking if he was really trying to charm girls while he was supposed to be out adventuring. She drops onto the counter, sulking hard as she mutters that it's totally wrong to go hunting for hookups inside a dungeon. Shin panics, flails his hands, and insists she's totally wrong, because he swears that woman just saved him from a bad spot, so he pushes the moment forward, asking if she knows what kind of adventure Cassandra really is. Angelina yanks up the guild records, and boom, she realizes she's not just some nobody, because she's pretty infamous under the name *** Cassandra of Calamity ** in certain circles. The records say she's a B-ranked lone adventurer with blood-red hair, so bold she still steals the spotlight, even when she dives into top-tier dungeons with a party. People call her a razor-sharp swordswoman, wielding a one-of-a-kind blade from the east, the katana. The records swear Cassandra is a survivor. She's the only one who walks back alive from her missions, every single time, unlike Angelina. Lena straight up admits her skills are the real deal, then immediately says she'd never, ever recommend you join a party with her. She tells them it's only a rumor, so nobody can be 100% sure, but honestly, there's usually no smoke without a real fire, and she can't stop listening, wondering. If that's really true, then hey, thanks, Angelina, for all the info and the help. Shin looks back on meeting her. He can't imagine her turning bad, and he figures there's more to the story, so he decides to find out on his own. If it turns out he's getting played, he'll just chalk it up to his own rotten gut feeling and his. But before he can finish thinking, Angelina blurts his name and snaps his attention to her instantly. Shen jolts up and snaps back an answer, then flips the whole mood and asks when the two of them should go grab dinner. She starts fidgeting with her hair, all on edge, and says the guild finally calmed down enough for her to breathe and take a real break. She blushes hard, heart racing, and blurts out, "Wait, are you really sure you want this, just us alone?" Angelina shoots him a warm smile and answers yes, mostly because he's always been taking such great care of her at the guild, so she tells him she's got her solo stuff completely under control now, and suddenly she's like, "Come on, let's go celebrate." Shan tells her we'll reach out soon, and inside, he's totally freaking out with excitement. He can't believe it, his luck has to be flipping at last, because the crazy part is a girl actually wants to grab dinner with him. Man, it's a total flip from when he sailed with the Argonauts. Back then, every girl only had eyes for Jason, but He tries to keep his feet on the ground, telling himself Angelina's just a genuinely nice person, and that this is probably all it is, professional. And his thoughts get smashed to pieces the moment Cassandra finally bursts in, demanding to know if she'd been kept waiting. She shrugs and tells him it's no big deal, because she actually loves chasing new guilds in fresh towns, just to gauge how strong the local adventurers really are. As they sit side by side, she spots him smiling and blurts, "Why are you grinning like a total maniac? Did something good happen?" Shin panics and blurts out a denial, swearing he's not grinning, like he's some stone-cold, serious guy who's never caught being anything else. Shin jabs a finger at the menu and tells her, loud and sure, that the herb pork sauté is the one, so. Cassandra flashes him a huge grin and tells him she'll trust his word, because the food is exactly what she can't wait to dig into. She realizes she's in this amazing mood, asks if it's her favorite dish, and tells him the truth. She's not chasing the flavor, she's just thrilled, because it's been forever since she last ate with anyone at all. Heat rushes into her cheeks, and she drops her gaze, panicking that she might have gotten a little too swept up in the moment. She looks up at him with a bashful smile and asks, breathless, if he thinks it's weird that she's this excited. Shin bursts into laughter and tells her, "Today, on me, go ahead, order anything you want." After they finish eating, Shin shoots up and says it's time to make things official. He starts forming a party, then tells her to follow him. He keeps the door held wide for her, then guides her somewhere more private so they can talk business in peace. Right as they finally settle in, Shin whips out his card and tells her, "Let's kick things off by swapping guild cards," then shoots her a quick look and asks, "Got a problem with that?" Cassandra snatches her card and blurts that it's the best move, because it lets her avoid talking out her whole situation out loud. Shen stares at the card and his jaw drops. It's stuffed with rare, top-tier skills he's never even heard of. He fights to read the gift description, but whole chunks are wiped clean, and then it hits him. She's a half-breed. Cassandra leans in and tells him she's got 2 secrets she has to get off her chest. Then she tugs at her hair and confesses that, yeah, he can probably tell already, she's not exactly 100% human. She glances away, choking back sadness, and blurts out that she's half-breed, with demon blood pumping through her veins, and he freezes, stunned, begging her to confirm she's really talking about a demon. He's got to be certain, so he leans in and asks if she's talking about those demons from the legends. He starts spiraling over the demon race, those legendary entities with power so absurd it feels like cheating. People claim they're the real descendants of gods, cast out of power after they lost a brutal war, then tried to seize the world anyway. Barely anyone alive has actually laid eyes on one in modern times, but everyone's heard the legends. Because they're absurdly strong, the stories won't die. Shin insists they exist for real, but explains they basically hide like hardcore hermits. Cassandra then admits that even with her bloodline, she's never once met one face-to-face either. It finally hits him. Legendary god-tier blood is coursing through her veins right this second. She rubs her chin, trying to figure out how she's a half-demon, and she calmly nods like, "Yeah, you got it." Cassandra takes a breath, locks eyes with Shin, and realizes he's got the exact skills they need for a forward. With that kind of foresight, once the fighting finally kicks off, everything suddenly feels way more manageable. Shin can't stop staring at her beauty, thinking, man, I'm the luckiest guy alive that she's on my team. Cassandra fires up her powers again, dropping a fresh twist as she explains that her enchanted prophet doesn't just do one thing, it has 2 totally different effects. Her eyes blaze as she tells him, I can slice off a few seconds from what's about to happen, and I can also peer way past that, like a real oracle. Shen says it's basically the most busted power ever, and she nods like, yeah, it's perfect, then admits there's one terrifying catch. She freezes on the spot, completely stunned by the bombshell she's about to drop next. She tells him straight up, her powers are the only reason she's still breathing, but every time she sees the future, everyone else mangles it and gets it completely wrong. Hearing that punches Shin hard. It sounds exactly like the stuff he's already survived with his old party, and it drags him right back into those memories. Cassandra shouts that a massive tsunami is coming, but everyone just stares at her like she's crazy and shrugs. Nice day, huh? Cassandra's staring at the ground, because her gift feels more like a curse. Everyone just never gets a word she's trying to say so. But then Shin realizes his translation power isn't just translating, it's catching her real voice, and that's why those weird echoes have been haunting him the whole time. Cassandra's eyes light up. She finally realizes Shin is the only living soul who can actually hear her prophecies the right way. He's basically the savior she's been praying for, and when she looks at him, pure hope shines in her eyes. She loops right back to that earlier conversation and pushes the idea of them teaming up again. admitting that even though her gift usually gets her judged, her fight skills are the real deal, and that they'd make an unstoppable team. She's so desperate to join him that she practically begs. He can choose every single quest, and she'll even keep 90% of the money, but he tells her straight up they can become a party, if and only if she agrees to his one real condition. Cassandra's nerves spike, and she blurts that she'll dye her hair right away if it's going to be a problem for him. She shuts it down fast, then admits he tells her her hair is beautiful and that it looked like flames the moment she saved him. Cassandra's face flushes crimson as she blurts, asking Shin if he really likes her, because she can't believe he'd compliment her hair like that after looking so stunned. She whips her gaze away, heart thudding with doubt, and blurts, "Tell me it isn't creepy, because that color looks way too wrong to belong to any normal human." She claims the color is proof she's not pure, but Shin just shrugs it off and shoots back, asking why it even matters, because if something looks pretty, then it's just pretty. He points at himself and tells her, "Yeah, I'm that kind of guy. I hang out and party with slimes, no joke." He tells her flat out he doesn't care one bit that she's half demon, then flashes his translation gift and swears he knows. For a fact, there are tons of good monsters out there. So he decides the only thing that truly matters is the kind of person someone is deep down, and that's when Cassandra spiraled even harder, panicking that it might only make everything worse, especially since he was definitely the one who heard that brutal nickname they all throw at her. Shen murmurs disaster like a curse, then locks eyes with her and blurts out that he finally knows the real truth. When everyone else misread her gift, she was the only one who actually had his back, watching him closely and handing him the advice he needed. Even thinking about it makes my skin crawl. She went way out of her way to fend off a giant pig demon, all to keep him safe. Shin praises them for cracking the truth to his face, even knowing it would backfire, because that kind of honesty earns his full respect. Then he locks eyes with her, grins like the sun, tells her he trusts her, while Cassandra stands there frozen, barely whispering his name. He gets all fired up, leans in close, and tells her straight up that honestly, she's just a genuinely good person. And Cassandra just freezes in shock, replaying how she used her gift to blast prophecies to everyone. She admits it all, he'd rather rush to help people than patch his own reputation, and that choice makes him look like a full-on hero to her. She spins away, cheeks burning, snaps, "You idiot," for being so nice, and even so she slips him a quiet thank you. She snaps back to the grind, and straight up asks Shin what kind of deal he wants so they can team up. Shun snaps at her he's no savior, and says if they're gonna throw a real party, they've gotta be equals so he decides they'll slice every reward right down the middle, team up, and pick their quests together, because he believes the real strength is speaking up when someone slips, because trust has to run both ways. Shen lowers his gaze, wears a calm smile, and admits, straight up, that he can't be the savior. But he tells Cassandra he's dead set on being her partner, and she shoots back, "Are you sure?" She can't help wondering if that's truly okay, then shoots her a quick look and says that's the one thing that matters most to him. He lets out an awkward little laugh, admits he's the weaker one, then adds, "Yeah, he may not be the strongest, but he can handle chores and all that." Cassandra leans over the railing and tells him, "Don't worry, I'll train you myself. After all, we're partners," and he snaps back so. If she's really cool with it, she turns and starts walking off, telling him to get ready, because her training is pure brutality. She shoots him a sharp, almost teasing smile and tells him, "Even if you sob and beg, I'm not letting you go." Night drags on, and when morning finally breaks, the two of them sprint back to the guild, where Angelina storms in with a chilling grin, slides right up and asks if they're throwing a party, then presses, "So my advice meant nothing." She shrugs it off like it's nothing, insisting, "It's okay, we've just got an adventurer and a guild worker here, that's all." Angelina's face twists with pure annoyance, and she snaps at Shin. Does he even care about the advice she gave him earlier? When Shin clocks that he's already been warned about her, he pushes through. He's got to clear the air and prove the rumors are just a total misunderstanding, while Cassandra, right beside him, can't stop staring, wondering why that guild worker is treating him like absolute trash. Angelina checks her clipboard, then tells Cassandra, "Since your B rank and Shin's only C rank, we're getting a special request. That's the certification exam." And Shin just freezes, stunned at the realization. She's treating him even worse than before. Angelina presses on, insisting they're both battle-tested, but Cassandra can't shoulder this alone just because she outranks her. She tells them if you pull this off and finish the job safely, the whole party gets officially upgraded to B rank. Cassandra's blazing with energy, telling Shin their first real mission is on, and they've got to go all in, while Shin just slumps there, looking utterly wrecked, and mumbles a weak yes. Angelina steps in and tells them she's only asking out of curiosity, but the real reason slips out. She wants to know how they actually ended up teaming up and she corners Cassandra, asking if she should go full-on aggressive, because Cassandra already turned down Angelina's offer before. Shin completely snaps, baffled by what she's even saying, while fighting to explain that there's a real reason behind everything. Angelina clicks that Shin's original plan was to run solo, but Cassandra is basically on her knees, begging him to team up, saying she'll do literally anything if he'll just let her join, and that means. That's when it all turns brutal for Shin. Cassandra tries to steal the blame by claiming she's the one who pushed for the party, but Angelina is sickened, staring like she can't believe it. She can't wrap her head around the fact that Shin has a girl here, ready to promise him anything. Cassandra just can't spot the problem, grinning as she tells the guild staff, "I'm not trash, and I'm definitely not a bad guy." She keeps digging deeper, and she even brings up how Shen complimented her hair and called it beautiful just last night. Then Shen's patience snaps, and he rushes in frantic, begging her to watch every word before. Cassandra snorts that a trash guy wouldn't be this decent, while Angelina immediately latches onto the last night detail, then starts judging harder, because how could they get so close on the very first day they met? She fires off a sharp jab about how, she knows damn well, he knows his way around women, and you can tell she's not buying his wide-eyed innocent act for a second. And she even drags up his old party, the Golden Fleece, saying he was getting cozy with a Sue back then too. Angelina finally snaps and tells him to shut up, because she swears his trashy attitude is spreading like a curse, and she wants zero part of it. Shin is losing it, panicking as he tries to convince everyone there's a reason for everything, even why his hair is tied up in the first place. But Cassandra's voice cracks. She demands to know if he lied last night and whether he really hates her hair, so Shin panics, scrambles to swear he meant every word, and insists he truly thinks her hair is gorgeous. Angelina's done with the whole circus. She snaps at them to find someplace else to make out, because she's got real work to handle. And once she confirms they're officially accepted, Shin bolts out of there, screaming for Cassandra to chase after him. Angelina shoots her hand out toward him, and for one heartbeat, her eyes flicker like she might actually be losing him. So she shouts one final warning, begging him to make it home safe. Shin flashes a huge grin and shoots her a thumbs up, like he's already sure he'll make it back in one piece. Alright, right after that, the beer ant quest officially ignites, and the two of them push straight into the forest to kick off their troll hunt, which has. Feeling fired up, he tells Cassandra to move now, and she's right there, matching his momentum. Cassandra flashes him a thumbs up and tells him that if he uses the technique she taught him, this will be a breeze. Chen promises he'll go all in, But she spirals into overthinking, repeating that they've got to track down the target first, because scouting is usually the toughest part of the whole job. Shin just stared at her like, confused. We already finished scouting, and honestly, he was miles ahead of her. Shen crouches with a tiny bird, then translates for Cassandra, because 3 creatures in the forest are about to lead them straight to the right spot. Cassandra's eyes light up as she tells him. She's genuinely blown away, thinking his translation skills are ridiculously convenient, So Shin lays it out. Just yapping won't win you real friends, but because he's got real talent, his base is packed with monster allies. Cassandra finally clicks that he probably chatted with the slimes and bats in that cave. Then she questions him straight. Does he use them to sniff out where the monsters are hiding? Shin pushes into the thick forest, fighting his way over brutal ground, and it doesn't take long before he spots something he just has to grab. He proudly holds up a handful of grapes and rare herbs, and Cassandra just stares, because he somehow scored materials this high quality so fast. She can't believe anyone would boot a guy like him from a party, then shoots him a sharp look and bluntly asks if he got tossed for flirting with every single girl. She snaps completely and starts flailing his hands like mad, screaming that he got fired because he's weak, and she watched his low stats herself. He snaps his gaze away and admits those girls from Medea were only his childhood friends, then says everyone's always told him his work comes out half-hearted. Cassandra leans in and tells Shin to drop the whole talk about girls and focus, because he's got it twisted. In a party, everyone has a job to do. It's all about positioning. Frontline fighters stay locked in tight, while the magic users rain hits from the back, So she tells him, yeah, your skills might feel average to you, but being solid at everything makes you the perfect support. She's stunned by how much this solo player knows, then she just blushes hard, admitting she actually studied up for a moment like this. She glances down for a split second, and you can feel the weight of the moment crash onto her, because she's dead serious when she says, this is a massive responsibility. She refuses to let the atmosphere sink, then fires everyone up by yelling that they're about to throw the best party ever. He checks with the bird and tells them the target is right there, while Cassandra just grins, dead set and itching to kick things off. When a massive troll slams into their path, C rankers don't just get tested, they're forced to prove themselves, because this trial hits harder than any orc. But strength isn't even the scariest part. Those wild healing powers turn them into a full-on nightmare you can't beat. Every hit that isn't a finishing move just snaps them back to full health instantly, so your weak attacks don't stand a chance. Shin's mind snaps back to the Golden Fleece days. Back then, you could only drop a troll with one giant, do-or-die hit, and even after that, Medea had to unleash her strongest magic just to make it work. Barely scrapes by, then he looks down at the monsters in the woods and realizes his new party has 0 insane, high-level spells to bail them out, so they're left with only. Their only real shot is Cassandra's wild sword skills and the razor edge in her hands. Up on the ledge, he watches, fighting the urge to figure out how to buy her enough time to actually kill one. Then when he asks how long she needs, she shrugs and says, 5 seconds, like it's nothing, leaving. He just stood there, head buzzing, trying to wrap his mind around that kind of speed, like his thoughts couldn't keep up, but Cassandra is already firing up the plan. She promises to drop 2 of them instantly and saves the last one for him, and Shin actually starts to believe this might work until it lands on him like a punch. His confidence stutters and he blurts out, "Are you serious? You want me to take one on all by myself?" Cassandra locks eyes with him, flashes that fearless smile and tells him, "You'll be fine." Right before she makes her move, she leans in and tells him, "I truly believe you've got this." She screams she'll meet him later, then blasts through the trees like a streak of lightning, only to slam straight into the ground right in front of the trolls. Shin hears her words and thinks, if she's so damn sure, then I'm going in full send. Cassandra's sword snaps up and hacks the troll's head off before it even realizes she's there. She barrels forward without a pause, thrusts out her hand, and screams for the flames to tear into the next target. She rips through its legs mid-dash, skids across the dirt screaming Shin's name, telling him it's time. That second troll is fully blinded by the fire magic she just left in her wake, so Shin finally gets the opening he's been hunting for. He stands toe-to-toe with the last giant and roars that its opponent is right here. The monster rumbles in a deep, furious roar, locking all that rage onto the tiny humans blocking its path, and Shin locks eyes with it, grinds his teeth and dares the beast, bring it on. The troll snaps, hulks up, and swings its massive club for a deadly strike. But Shin reminds himself, his partner actually believes in him, and all he has to do is lock in and make it happen. Shin darts beneath the monster's legs to hunt for a gap, and Cassandra screams that this is finally the moment they've been waiting to strike. Shin thinks it's finally over, but Cassandra screams that it's still alive, then a massive fist whips past his head before he can even react. She spots the beast finally losing steam and snaps at Shin to keep hammering the attack. Shin snaps, "I've got this," and rockets right back into the fight, going all in with what's left. He slams down a brutal hit, and the troll's scream rips through the air as smoke billows from the brand new wound. And just when the monster lunges in for one last grab, Shin explodes with a shout, "Not this time," as his sword ignites, blazing with raw energy. With a thunderous roar, he plunges the blade straight into the monster's chest. Then the troll's scream never even gets started, because the strike lands clean. Shin stands there, gasping for breath, staring as the smoke curls up from the massive body, until it finally goes still. He braces himself on his sword, still stunned he actually won, while Cassandra rockets in with arms raised, yelling and cheering like she can't believe it either. She grins and tells him he's finally ready for the real world, and she laughs like, "Seriously, you're way better than I ever thought you'd be." Shin bursts out laughing, admits he can't believe how much he's grown, and then tells Cassandra it's only because she's been an incredible teacher. The two of them slam fists together, hyped out of their minds to celebrate the win. They push into the city and barrel straight for the towering Adventurers Guild. Those massive towers loom right ahead. Back at the counter, Yumi flashes a huge smile and tells them the appraisal on that troll's magic stone is finally done. She officially cheers Shin for finally hitting B rank, and even though Angelina's stuck in a meeting, she insists she's still going to be over the moon. Shin tells her, "I swear I hope so, because I've felt in your debt for way too long now." Yumi just bursts into laughter, tells him he's being wildly too humble, and then she pulls them aside and drops the bombshell. She's been picked to coordinate a massive new project that's about to kick off. They said the whole project basically hinged on the exact intel they pulled from that adventurer during the job. Shen opens his mouth to speak, but Cassandra barrels in first, teasing that if he's Beer Inc., then the guild has been scraping the bottom for members lately. Shin snaps to a stop the second he spots a familiar face. There's Jason right in front of him, standing with Medea and Jason. Jason greets Medea first, then whips his smug grin toward Shin, laughing that he figured the guy would crawl back to the order in tears, until Shin arrives with a girl instead, and Jason can't help but sneer, calling it a pretty smooth move. Cassandra snaps, calling him a rude bastard, and fires off the question to Shin, does he even know this guy? Shin leans in and says Jason is the leader of his old crew, the Golden Fleece. Jason doesn't pause for a second. He barrels out a shout claiming he's the one and only great hero, but Cassandra isn't buying any of it. She tells him straight up that he's a joke of a hero, and that anyone who can't see Shun's worth is nothing but an absolute idiot. Jason totally snaps, starts yelling at her to repeat what she just said, and then threatens to kill her on the spot, while Medea frantically struggles to keep him from going too far. He keeps yelling that there's no way he'd lose to some woman, but Cassandra just keeps walking and shuts him down. Beer Inc. isn't allowed, and it definitely won't start a private fight under guild rules. Suddenly, Jason slams on the brakes, points at her fiery red hair, and it clicks. She's Cassandra the Calamity, the legendary Beer Inc. solo adventurer everyone's talking about. And he looks downright furious, spitting out that having to deal with a comrade killer is going to be a total headache. That comment lands like a punch, and Cassandra's eyes go wide. She looks shaken and mutters under her breath that she didn't do any of it. Medea gapes at Jason in shock, demanding, "What did you just say?" While Jason screams at Shin to explain himself, but Shin digs in and tells Jason he better apologize to Cassandra, right now. Shin says he doesn't care that Jason keeps mocking him. Then Medea just stares, totally baffled, until Shin snaps into a full-on yell, swearing no one gets to talk trash about his partner, and demanding an apology right this second. Jason yells back that everyone calls Shin a loser, and that's the truth, no arguing, but Shin barrels right into his space and screams that he's totally wrong. Shin keeps charging forward, bellowing at the top of his lungs that the mere fact he's still alive and standing here is all the proof anyone needs that Jason is dead wrong. Jason clicks his tongue and says she finally gets how things are, and as the bickering spirals, Medea steps in like, "This arguing is pointless," then proposes they settle it with a mock battle. Shen wastes no time and declares he'll take them on, but Cassandra snaps, yelling for him to stop and wait. Cassandra tells him, "Let me handle this," and when Shin locks eyes with her, it hits him. Yeah, she has a reputation, but swordsmanship is where she truly shines. She tells him this is exactly why she has to step up, because this whole disaster isn't just on the table anymore, it's wrecking both their reputations. Jason breaks into wild laughter, teasing them for mocking Shin when a woman covered for him, and then he jokes that the guy's basically living the high life. Cassandra jabs her finger at Jason and tells him to keep barking while he still can, because she's stepping in for Shin in this mock battle. Cassandra plants her hand on Shin's chest to stop him cold, and then it hits. He finally clocks what she's been trying to do. Jason erupts into shouting at the crowd, claiming he's worth way more than anything Cassandra could ever ask. Then he fires it off, asking everyone if they're ready to watch him go to work. Cassandra shoots him a glance, totally unbothered by all the noise, and asks straight up if he's really ready to kick this off. The crowd erupts, screaming for Jason and hurling the outsiders a one-way ticket straight to hell, while Yumi stands on the sidelines, jaw tight, freaking out over how this is gonna blow up. In the stands, the crowd's getting nastier by the second, one guy screaming at Jason to smash the red-haired girl's nose for him. Jason flashes a creepy grin, starts wiggling his finger, and tells Cassandra he already knows her special gift, exactly what it is. He slings his sword over his shoulder like a total legend, and trying to play it cool, tells her that as a gentleman, he'll let her land the first strike on him. Cassandra doesn't miss a beat. She grins and says she'll take that offer, then instantly lights up her flambered flame leg skill. She rockets forward, leaving fire in her wake, and before Jason even gets a breath, that smug grin snaps into raw, terrified panic. She lands a brutal, thunderous blow that rips a shockwave across the whole arena, and somehow Cassandra just stands there unshaken, because the sheer force of that strike tells the story for her. Jason lies face down on the shattered arena floor, totally knocked out, while Yumi screams his name, and the whole crowd just freezes in stunned disbelief. Smoke still gushes from the wall where Jason slammed in, but Cassandra just stands there like it's no big deal. Meanwhile, Shin is bouncing with pure joy. The crowd's going wild, some are screaming about how brutally strong Cassandra is, while others can't even process what they're seeing, and she just flashes a grin at the win. Angelina comes sprinting into the area, totally rattled, yelling at them to explain why everything's a disaster and why the noise is out of control. She slams on the brakes the second she sees the wreckage Shin's staring at, and when she notices it's her, right here, right now, pure shock hits her. Yumi clings to Angelina, bawling like her heart is breaking, and while Angelina ignores the meltdown just long enough, she turns to Shin and demands he explain himself. She claims she understands the whole fight, but then she drops the real bomb. She's got something way bigger to talk about, and she jerks Shin into following her. Angelina hustles them out of the arena, shouting, "This way," as Shin trails right behind, bracing hard because the whole situation feels insanely tense. They finally end up in a quiet library corner, and Angelina ushers them in like, "Sit now." She locks eyes with both of them and demands they stay calm because things get real from here. She tells me another crew of adventurers barged into that very same cave, and then she drops the gut punch. Every single one of them got wiped out, except for one lone guy. The lucky survivors crawling out of that cave look wrecked. One dude sprawled on the ground, wrapped in bandages, because a pig demon absolutely destroyed him. Right before he blacked out at the clinic, he still got a message out, and now, with what Shin told them on top of it, the guild is putting every piece together. Shen's face tightens when he hears the guild is about to announce an official emergency mission, and you can tell right then, this is where things stop being normal and start going real. Cassandra says they're running one final check before the order ships, and Angelina grabs Shin and demands he lay out, word for word, what really happened in that cave. Shen locks eyes with Cassandra and promises to spill everything he saw, because he finally knows just how insanely high the stakes have become. An emergency mission hits like a whole other world compared to the usual jobs adventurers grab off some notice board. This one comes with a direct order. Most folks pick their own quests, but when disaster hits, the guild slaps together a special crew, while high rankers can't refuse no matter what. Shin snaps to it. This town isn't just in trouble, it's bleeding out, and they're already resorting to forced missions like this. The tension in the air hits him like a live wire. Once he's done laying out the entire situation with that map, Angelina leans in and thanks him for breaking down every detail so thoroughly. She snaps into a serious stare, points at it, and says, "Look, the guy they met isn't the real issue. There's a much bigger problem looming." Angelina says you should assume the enemy has special gifts that supercharge their whole group, making them even more dangerous, way more. Deadlier than ever, she looks genuinely rattled as it clicks. Then she blurts, "Wait, are you saying I'm talking about an orc king?" Cassandra leans in and asks Shin if he's ever heard of it, and Shin admits he remembers reading about the creature in dusty old guild records. Decades ago, an orc king led his army out of a cave toward the city, and even with their small numbers, they were ready to tear everything apart, but the story cuts off right. They wrecked everything in their path, so the guild had to throw every A rank it could find at them, and even then they still paid the price. 2 towns gone and a ton of lives lost. Cassandra snaps that if an A rank was struggling back then it's starting to look like history is circling right back around, right now. Angelina doesn't think this new orc king hits as hard as the old one, but it's still a massive threat, and they've got to smash it before it crushes them. Before the enemy forces can swell, Shin wastes zero time. He grabs Angelina's attention and tells her, straight up, that he and his party are coming to help. He's sure it's the right play, and Cassandra jumps in, calling it the perfect first mission for them, now that they're officially B ranks. Angelina lets out a huge breath of relief, thanks them for jumping in, then tells them to run through the plan before the news hits the public. A few days fly by after the talk about the Orc King, and it finally feels like everything's sliding back toward normal, at least for now. Back at the guild, Shin and Cassandra stride through the main hall, then everyone turns, points, and starts whispering about how. Cassandra apparently knocked Jason out, then she brags that she's getting tons of attention, quickly fixes him to say both of us, and asks if they should finally get moving. To find Angelina, she's right there, grinning like the sun, greeting them warmly the second she sees them, like she's been waiting all morning as she gets. She gets straight to it. She tells them the guild officially ordered an emergency mission, and she doesn't hold back as she says they're in. Because he treats the place like a second home, Cassandra jumps in too, saying she has no real reason to refuse, especially. There's this special bounty for wiping out monsters with gifts, and she's practically vibrating with readiness, straight up saying she can't wait to get into a real fight when. Then someone yells from the back of the room, and the other adventurers start freaking out. Wait, is Shin's crew really moving up to the front lines? Until a booming voice cuts in and asks if they're forgetting someone in. It turns out Jason is the one. He bursts out, shouting that his party is obviously hopping onto the mission too. Then he straight up points at Shin and Cassandra and yells that real adventurers only matter when they move as a team. With his other members right beside him, Theseus and Atalante stand there too, 2 C-class solo fighters who have just joined his crew. Cassandra doesn't hesitate. She snaps at Jason for turning it into a scene, then smirks and dares Shin to translate all that noise for her, like it's no big deal, which completely sets Jason off. He roars that he'll make them choke on those words later. Then he barks at his new team to follow him straight to the strategy meeting, absolutely determined. He snatches every reward for himself because that's the plan. As they stride toward the conference room, a voice he knows all too well shouts Shin's name, Castor, a C-ranked guardian knight who. She waves him over, along with her partner, Pollux, and they both beam as she greets them, saying it's been forever and congratulating Castor on finally landing at C-rank. He grins and lays it out. The promo is the reason the guild tracked them down for this emergency. Then Shin's eyes start to well up, and he chokes on his feelings as tears spill while. Acting like a proud dad, he's bragging about how much they've grown, but Pollux isn't buying the sweet moment, grumbling that he doesn't need that. Trying to teach him something new, but he shuts you down fast, then once everything finally settles. Little Castor leans in with eyes full of sparkle, practically vibrating with excitement, begging to hear the tale of when she finally went toe-to-toe with that gift-holder monster, Cassandra. He locks eyes with the girl's wild intensity and blurts, "You okay?" Shin just bursts into laughter, insisting she's way tougher than she looks, and he's stunned. After years of getting used to her, his whole face turns grim the second he answers, and he admits the fight was almost unbearable, warning them that if they ever spot that kind of aura again, they better run. Shen scrambles to say she's just weak, but Pollux whips around with a death stare and calls him brother in a way. And it makes him yelp in pure terror. Watching the two of them together, Cassandra can't shake the feeling that their bond is flat out weird. And she picks up on her vibe fast, explaining that it looks like total chaos, but the two of them actually click great. Cassandra still doesn't look fully sold. But Shin barrels forward, insisting Pollux is pure high-voltage energy, while Castor moves like a careful, razor-smart thinker with a biting tongue. Then he blurts, "They're just bah." Cassandra glances aside and admits it. Yeah, she's jealous, because their bond feels impossible. She flashes a warm smile, nudges them to build their own kind of bond, and that's exactly when they decide to. Shin barrels into the meeting and lays out the entire plan, explaining that the scouts are already in the field and that the advanced team will guide the main force straight toward the cave. Even while he admits he's still freaking out about Lime, he leans in and tells Cassandra he's going to push for the advanced team because he needs to get a. Cassandra fires off a fist bump and swears they're taking this down for real, and Shin can't help but nod along, locked in. 3 more, and once the plan clicks into place, those heavy supply carriages thunder toward the mountain. Watching how easily he clicks with the twins, Cassandra leans in and says it like a fact. She's got connections everywhere. And Shin breaks it all down, right back to his days as a rookie instructor for the guild. Cassandra's jaw drops. Because he's dealing with way more than your average adventurer, he tells her he even chats with monsters sometimes. Trusting people is everything, until one time it backfired hard when some other guy freaked out, called him a monster, and attacked him. Still, that hard-earned reputation landed him a killer deal on a brand new mithril sword from a local blacksmith who. Cassandra acts like he's pure magic, praising him like he's incredible, but Chen shuts it down, saying he's only here because of a senior. She shoved him through training, and when she asks if that person was an adventurer too, she can't help but look a little. Cassandra keeps it quiet. She doesn't push back at all. She just promises to be the kind of partner he can finally stand proud beside. The two of them finally crashed into the main guild encampment, an enormous stronghold right beside the mountain. Pollock clocks them on sight and fires off, ready to go in, while Castor just stands there, glaring like he's fed up. Shen tries to shove last-minute advice into the twins' hands. Stay razor-sharp, don't rush in, and if real resistance hits, don't play hero, just run. Castor snaps back at Shin. Your only job is to get back alive with that intel. Shin tries to argue, saying he doesn't need the lecture, but the moment he starts, he's cut off. With a massive grin, Pollock steps in and politely tells Shin to move out of the way for a minute, then turns and grabs her brother to get him moving. Shin thanks them for the help, and Pollock spouts that tired, take care of yourself line while he struggles to keep it together. Castor just hangs there, utterly wiped out after the whole exchange. But right when things seem fine, Pollock suddenly gets bashful and asks Shin if she can call in a favor after she makes it back safe. Shin just shrugs and says it's no problem as long as it's something he can actually pull off. She lights up, shooting him a huge thanks, while behind the curtain, Castor totally snaps, yelling at her because she's trying to build the story. Then the two of them sprint off toward the mountain, and Shin just stares after them, wondering if they can really make it on their own. Cassandra chimes in that the twins aren't just any C-rankers. They're on a whole other level thanks to their rare skills and how perfectly they move as a team, and Shin can't help sounding curious. He asks about those one-of-a-kind skills, then tells her to go ask them herself later, like it's no big deal, because he's done here and it's time they split and take care of their own business. Shin pauses for a beat, stealing one deep breath before they set off. Shinpokes hits the ground at Lime with a stick and asks if anything's changed, and Lime immediately starts ranting, saying weird stuff, been popping up, groups of people keep rolling in like it's normal, and pig devils are everywhere, digging holes like crazy. Lime curls up against Cassandra, freaking out completely. It's terrified everyone's about to swarm into its home, and even its usually flawless skin is starting to erupt in breakouts. Shen tries to soothe the whole situation, telling them that while the guild gears up for a huge hunt, the slimes lurking in the dark should be perfectly harmless. But the moment Shin hears it, something feels off, because pig demons don't usually dig holes, and Shin's never known them to be clever enough to run around with habits like that. Cassandra's fighting to stay composed, completely overwhelmed, while Lime scrambles to catch Shin's attention. This tiny slime insists it's about to drop something insanely important, yet Shin just freezes, staring at Cassandra like he can't believe what he's seeing. Meanwhile, Pollux is out in the field with her brother, pointing hard toward the mountain, and she tells him she can't believe how lucky she feels. She got hit with the worst kind of tragedy. Goblins smashed her village and shoved her into adventuring, but somehow it all worked out. Castor locks in on the clash, carving through an orc as his mind drifts back. He knows he and his sister were born with crazy talent, so money was never really the problem. Then Pollux unleashes a surge of wind magic, and the memory of a brutal past hits hard, like life suddenly had no meaning at all, until Shin finally shows up and gives her a reason to keep fighting. Thinking back to the day Shin showed her how to swing a sword, he didn't pity her like she was just some kid who'd lost everything. He treated her like a real adventurer, and that one shift changed her life. Pollux can't stop thinking about how Haoshin's words keep her standing strong, even now, while Castor spots the bleeding and snaps that she's hurt. She's praying this hunt lets her finally do something that truly helps Shin, and she just shoots her brother a sincere thank you for always having her back. Castor flashes a grin and tells her he gets it, but as he starts to speak, the words turn dark, like he's about to warn her what could happen if they somehow manage to make it back. Reminding her this is enemy territory and she's got to stay razor sharp. Then right as Pollux starts to nod along, she gets cut off by. Brutal booming noise rips through the whole area, and both of them freeze, totally caught off guard, as they snap their heads up and then from the pitch-black cave, a massive horde of furious boar demons burst out and came charging straight for them. Then the monster swarm hits, way too many to count, and for a split second the two of them just stand there, totally frozen, staring in stunned silence. Pollux snaps her fingers at the wind for help, but Castor spots the risk instantly and screams at his sister to get back. Meanwhile, Shin is fuming, because the crowd is so thick his bats can't pin a single trail, while Cassandra frets that maybe they should have dumped the guild staff's anger and left sooner. Shin tells her couldn't just gamble with 2 lives like that, especially when he was still stuck on those freaky boar demons Lime had brought up earlier. Shin shoves ahead and tells Cassandra, "You're the one who spotted the threat." He snaps that this so-called team means nothing if they don't move right now, so. Cassandra thanks him, her face softening fast, and she tells him they'll apologize to the guild staff together, right after everyone's finally safe. Then they spot a tiny demon skulking nearby, and Shintelser says they'd better try to grab the little guy alive instead of just wiping it out. Cassandra agrees on the spot, then speeds up fast to close the gap. But the moment they trap it in a corner, she freezes, completely lost in why it's acting like this, so she brushes off the weirdness and snaps, demanding to know where the people who were fighting just disappeared to. He clamps his blade against the creature's throat and demands an answer, and the goblins start panicking, sweating buckets and churning out ugly, broken noises like their minds have snapped. Shin hears real fighting roaring from deeper inside, and it hits him. Those battle rumors weren't lies after all. The tiny goblin grabs its only shot and bolts for its life, vanishing into the cave's dark like it was never there. Cassandra doesn't miss a beat. She snaps Shin into motion the second she stands over a brutal mess of blood, and Shin's mind can't even catch up with how fast she moved. But deeper in Castor, he's trapped in a desperate brawl. He slams his shield up to stop 2 ugly pig demons as they charge straight at him. Pollux rockets into the monster chaos, screaming at full volume like the loudest threat in the whole storm. The 2 siblings get boxed in from every angle, and Castor snaps, asking how many more of these guys they're supposed to fight, while Pollux grimly admits the waves just won't quit. Castor is already gasping for air, but he leans in and promises Pollux he'll carve out an opening so she can slip away. Pollux won't have any of that. He shuts it down instantly after someone snaps back at him for saying something that dumb. But before they can even start arguing, a monster barrels straight into Castor's space, right in his face. He opens his mouth to speak, and Pollux just loses it, screaming for her brother as the scene cuts off. Barely gets his shield up before impact, and panic hits hard. He knows he's in the worst possible spot, because if this fight keeps going like this, neither of them is walking out alive. The orc slams down with a brutal swing, and Castor braces for the worst. He's convinced he has to save his sister, no matter what. Out of nowhere, a shadowy blur streaks by and slashes through the monsters in a blink. Castor just stands there, utterly stunned. Shin lunges ahead with his blade up, checks if they're all right, then snaps that the rest of the fight is his, so they need to get out of the way. Shin plants his feet, blasts his voice at the monsters, and screams that they need to back off right now, or get wiped out. The orcs don't even flinch. They yank their weapons up, snarl nonstop about how they'll slaughter the humans, and it hits Shin that talking won't save him. He starts to wonder if they even hear what he's saying, or if they're just moving on that isn't theirs. He stares at his blade, stunned by how unreal this mithril is. Then a better idea hits, and he cuts himself off like he can't wait to show you. And drops to his knees to tell Pollux he's borrowing her staff for a moment. She just says, okay, then gets ready to try something brand new. He orders Lime to take on 2 of the monsters while he grabs the lid. Lime jumps at the chance, and Shen locks eyes with the horde as he stands there, ready to crush them. He whips the staff around and blasts a wind blade, so razor-sharp it carves an orc clean in half like it's nothing. He refuses to slow down, shouting into the wind like it's his battle cry, while the energy whips and spirals around him. He blitzes through the whole area and leaves every monster crumpled as the siblings watch from behind. He stares at the staff and it clicks. If he can wield power like that, maybe he won't just survive a gift holder, he'll fight back for real. Shin just stood there, eyes blazing wide, finally snapping the puzzle into place about who Cassandra really is. Cassandra strides up and snaps that she didn't even get a chance to help him out. Then she waves it off, saying if those things are all they can do, it's whatever. But he admits something was way off about how Orc was moving. Cassandra jumps in, saying her special gift picked up not a single thing from it, and then it all clicks. He should realize something way worse is cooking, and trust his gut, because this whole situation screams danger. He rushes over to check on Pollux, and when she finally opens her eyes, she looks utterly wiped out and asks Shin if this is all a dream. Shin leans in, swears it's the real deal, and shoves a drink into her hands, telling her to gulp it down. She takes a sip, grimaces instantly, and laughs it off. That nasty taste is the proof I'm totally awake. When she complains just a little and you realize she's finally doing okay, it hits you, hard relief. Then out of nowhere, she snaps, grabs him and panics, begging him to tell her what's happening to her brother while she was gone. But her brother, Castor, is totally fine. He's right there, eyes wide, completely starstruck by Cassandra, and calling her a red-haired angel. Shin tells them they only barely made it because the 2 of them held their ground like a wall. Then Pollux drops into a deep bow, thanking them for everything, while her brother stands there red-faced, totally embarrassed. Cassandra blurts out that she's just relieved they made it in time to save them, and Shen grins and praises them for pushing through with pure grit. Then Pollux stares up at them like heroes, packed with respect. Shin snaps that they've got to turn back right now and report every detail to HQ, and Pollux is already raging, swearing they'll never fall for the same trap twice. She yanks her brother along to make the getaway, but he's still wide-eyed and starstruck, whipping his gaze back to Cassandra like she's a real-life angel. The second they're gone, Shin pushes for a quick look around, and just as they're starting, Cassandra suddenly snaps, calling Yuya's name and right. Then Lime the slime starts trembling out of nowhere, blurting to Shin that something's nearby and he has to see it. Shen darts after him and squeezes through a tiny opening carved into the rock wall. He peeks inside, and the second he understands what he's seeing, his face crumples like gravity just hit. He wastes not a second, bursts straight into the cave, and sprints right at the figure slumped on the ground. Chenniel's on the hunt for Shwain, then he spots the orc warrior sitting there, drenched in blood, shredded by deep cuts. Cassandra points to the guy they just found, and Shin's eyes go wide, because the second he clocks him, he realizes it's the very gift-bearer he met before, the orc warrior Shwain. Lime the slime tilted his head, then stared up at the chin, and asked if he could use his power to heal the big guy's wounds. Shin snaps that he can't fix everything in one shot, and Cassandra immediately loses it, because they're supposed to be hunting those pig demons right now. But Lime tells him the orc wasn't just getting attacked. This time, the whole pack jumped him all at once, just like the last time it happened to him. Shin steals his resolve to help, tells Cassandra to get ready, and says he's covering everything, because if she tries anything while he's working, he'll stop it, right there, before it even starts. She can't believe her own ears. She's screaming at him that the creature is their enemy, plain and simple. But Shin breaks it down. Because those wounds came from Lime's own kind, Lime felt like she had to step in. He reckons that tiny slime felt his pain, and after everything he went through, it figured it might as well save someone caught in the exact same mess. Plus, he leans in and says, if we save her, we might finally pull some real, useful intel on what's actually happening. Cassandra exhales with defeat, admits she has no real choice, and figures maybe, just maybe, they can actually talk this through with her. Shen lets out a relieved breath and thanks Cassandra for stopping by, and she admits that if anyone else suggested this, she'd think they were completely unhinged. But now that they're partners, she's ready to trust Shen's call, and that's when. He rubbed his face and burst out laughing, because having her say that was honestly way too embarrassing. He snaps into focus, leans in, and says, all right, time to work. So Shin locks onto the orc and blasts his healing power straight into the guy, sealing up his wounds fast. The light slams into Wayne's chest and erupts into wild, blazing glow like it's going to explode. Cassandra froze in total shock, blurted out that he was healing at insane speed, and then admitted, straight to her own disbelief, that her magic could never pull off something like that. She keeps staring, saying she's never witnessed anything like this, and can't stop wondering if it's Shin's gift kicking in again. The orc starts to groan, strains for a second, then finally snaps his eyes open, dazed and staring like he's still stuck in a bad dream. He cranes his neck at the two of them, standing there, clueless, scrambling to figure out who they are, but Lime starts bouncing around immediately, insisting to Wayne that these guys are nothing like the monsters people make them out to be. Wayne tells Lime he has zero idea what the slime means, but then he locks eyes with Chin and demands, so you're the same guy who saved my life before, right? He whips back to the slime, fires off a quick thank you, and even calls him little guy, which leads into Wayne finally admitting he knew Shin would come knocking eventually, because this is the second time the human has had to save his skin. Shen flashes a tiny smile and admits he never thought they'd collide like this again, yet the orc's warrior spirit snaps to life. He jabs a finger at Cassandra and fires off, are you with Shin, then demands they start their rematch right now. Wayne snaps himself back, because the idea of a deathmatch while he still has a debt to pay sickens him, so he orders Shin to ask for anything as repayment. He keeps insisting that once the debt is paid, Shin must still honor his promise and go for a real fight, while Shin sits there stunned, wondering why this guy is so consumed with battling Cassandra. Cassandra demands what's going on, and Shin tells her the orc just wants to wrap up their last fight, but he's not really feeling it to go again right this second. She shoots him a frustrated look and asks if Shin can really pull something useful out of that guy, and Shin grins and swears he's going to give it everything. Shen drops into a seat, cuts straight to it, and fires off to Wayne. So tell me, why were those other orcs trying to wipe you out in the first place? Wayne pauses for a beat, then starts thinking up the best way to tell the whole story, his way. Their leader finally learned the truth. He'd slaughtered his own people, and still he let Shin's crew slip away, but now they were already marked for a purge, because they didn't back the surface invasion. Shin feels a heavy wave of guilt, apologizes like crazy for dragging the orc into that disaster, but Wayne snaps at him to drop it. He made his own calls, and this is none of Nachen's business at all. He actually looks downright thrilled, like he can't believe his luck, because this time he finally gets to wipe out the strongest of his own kind. Shen asks if Wayne's really over the grudge after his own friends turned on him, and Wayne snaps back that those non-stop attacks just forced him to level up and grow stronger. He slaps down a straight-up note to the whole idea of drowning in bitterness over the betrayal, standing. He lets the truth slip out. Yeah, he's just getting tall to chase what he wants and hunt down strong guys to fight, but then he stops himself and admits that's not the whole story. The orc flashes a grin and basically says, I only live for a good fight, then steps up to help Shin's group go toe-to-toe with the big boss. Then he drops the bombshell that he can't stand how Haoshin's brother handles things, and Shin is left completely baffled, because where is this brother talk even coming from? Shane's completely rattled and blurts out, wait, are you really his brother? While she clings to Wayne's hint about some special power, but the orc bursts into laughter, jabs a finger at him, and brags that he's pretty smart, just like his brother. Wayne lunges right up in his face, growling that if you look close, he's even got the same twisted expression, and it hits Shin hard because turns out the brother has the same power too. He can slam down absolute orders on anyone he's already beaten. Even though the brother is the frailest guy in the tribe, he's got the brains to outplay everyone, and that's exactly how he ended up leading the whole tribe. Shin blurts out that even his brother bragged about letting someone slip away on purpose just to bait the humans in, though the orc admits he never really understood the invasion plan himself. Shen's eyes popped wide as he demanded Shin repeat it, and the moment he heard it, he realized the whole mess was far worse than he'd ever imagined. Panic hits him hard. Did the whole group just stumble straight into a trap the orcs laid for them? The guild has zero clue what kind of brains they're up against, and Cassandra realizes the whole assault mission is about to spiral out of control, fast. Shen straight up tells Shuin, "We're going after my brother, and we might have to end him right then," and Shuin immediately asks if the orc is actually cool with that. Shin looks ice cold as he tells everyone he's got zero reason left to guard his brother's secrets, basically handing Shin the green light to go in. Do what you have to, because for orcs, power is the only currency that counts, and Shin just nods like he gets it, fully agreeing to the deal. Shin suddenly picks up speed, shouts at Cassandra, and yells that they've got to move, like, right now, because everyone's in real danger. As they kick into a sprint, Cassandra shoots back, asking if he actually snagged anything useful. Shin snaps that the leader is the absolute worst kind of person, and they'd better keep talking while they run. Time's slipping away fast. Meanwhile, in another corner of the caves, Jason and the Golden Fleece Knights have already plunged deep inside after. They're taking the guild's job and charging straight toward the spot where they believe the main orc force is lurking. Jason is snapping and yelling at them, furious that it's taking forever to reach their destination, because the longer they stall, the more it feels like someone else is going to swoop in and beat them to it. Adelante tells him to calm down, because they can't just go reckless with zero clue where the attack is coming from, while you can practically feel her own frustration blazing right under the surface. Jason jabs a finger at the ceiling and tells her to just ask a bat for directions, then immediately starts running his mouth, questioning whether she's even a real hunter if she can't use animals. She fires back, saying she can't just go chatting up random bats. Sure, maybe she'd do it if it were a pet she'd raised since she was a kid, but this is just plain ridiculous. Jason's gut starts screaming regret, because if Shin were still here, they wouldn't be trapped in this mess. Then Medea cuts in, telling him to keep his head cool. But Jason can't shake the guilt. He's stuck thinking that it was him who pushed to kick Chin out in the first place, until Medea snaps in, "You're the one who said he was useless, so." Jason snaps at her, firing back that she can't seriously blame him for everything. Then he rushes to defend himself, saying if Shin had just been reliable, they'd never have had to banish him. He's spiraling, all worked up over the fact his squad is supposed to be the top B rank, so he snaps at the girls that they've got to prove themselves right here, earn that jump to A rank once and for all. Jason declares he'll never lose to anyone, especially not Shin, and even though they're behind on intel right now, he's convinced they've got the most muscle, and he fully believes he's the ultimate hero, the main character who owns the whole story. Then there's Atalanta, lightning on her feet. Yeah, maybe she's only C rank, but she's still a massive piece of the team. With Medea, yeah, that legendary mage, she's loaded with magical power that hits like thunder. And rounding out the crew is Theseus, the beast killer paladin, who just clawed her way up to B rank. Jason calls out that they've got 4 brutal heavy hitters with real combat skills, and sure, he knows Shin's teaming up with that demon woman Cassandra now, but somehow he's still playing it like none of it matters. Theseus feels straight up unstoppable. She's sure there's no way she loses as long as they charge straight at it, no holding back. Jason barrels up to the huge fortress under siege and demands, "What's going on?" And right then, an archer spots him and shouts his name. Medea calls out that the attack is brutal and the stronghold won't budge, and the archer fires back. Yeah, a few squads got inside, but they're trapped there like prisoners. Then boom, this hulking orc boss drops right into the middle of the brawl and someone blurts, "Wait, is that the guy?" Jason just grins and blurts that a real hero needs a trial by fire, and yeah, he thought they were too late, but now he's convinced fate has them exactly where it wants them. He rallies his team, declaring they'll smash this monster and toast a brand new beginning for the Golden Fleece. Jason roars at everyone to shut it down. He snaps the other fighters to back off and hands the rest of the battlefield to his crew. Meanwhile, Shin, Cassandra, and Shin are charging straight into the chaos. Shin even blurts out that the current chieftain didn't stay in power because the orc's brother stepped in and took the role. Cassandra tells Shin he's pretty thin for an orc, like that's the tell that he's the smart one. Then Shen pushes back and asks what his brother was really like. Shin looks back and tells the story. His brother's body was weak because the whole tribe mistreated him nonstop. Shin kept going, saying that one day, while he was gone, his brother got shipped off to hunt with a whole other squad of orcs, and he still has no clue what the hell went down out there in the woods. But then the orcs who'd followed his brother started taking his orders, until he basically made them do all the hunting for him, so. Ocean asks if that's when the brother's special gift finally snapped to life, and Lime swears that's exactly how it happened. S.H. Wayne tells him, "My brother used to be a decent guy, but once he started stacking followers, violence took over, his ego blew up, and it just kept getting worse. Turns out his power lets him make every person he beats in battle instantly obey his every command. Before he even knew it, he'd surged to terrifying power, so strong he grabbed control of the tribe's former chieftain, but his. His ambition didn't stop at the tribe. He started dreaming bigger, until he was openly talking about taking over the entire surface world. S.H. Wayne swore he tried to stop him because he knew the world was too vast, but Shin snapped the truth back. That's exactly why the brothers fought, and it all tumbles. S.H. Wayne gets hit with Exile, and he tells Shin, "Don't wear that face, stop looking so crushed," while Lime chimes in that this was the only reason they ever managed to reunite again. S.H. Wayne sounds genuinely fired up when he says he's glad he gets to throw down with the former chief to the death, going all out, like things haven't been half as bad for him, and Shin and Lime are grinning as they go. Then Cassandra slashes the vibe in half and demands they wait. She says the guild still swears the chief is the strongest orc alive, so even if they crush every force standing in front of them, it would be. If the orcs hit again when everyone's off guard, it's going to be a disaster. Shin says the same, and S.H. Wayne insists they have to strike the true chief. Meanwhile, that giant orc army barrels onto the battlefield, swarming everywhere like a raging storm, pure, relentless war as the fighting just keeps. Jason is snapping. He's shouting that they can't push through these small fry enemies, even though they dragged in extra people just for this mission. Medea shrieks his name as arrows rain down from every side, and Jason only snarls back that he's already got it, but he has to bark at Theseus so he doesn't get caught in the line of fire. She tries to tell her, but it's way easier said than done. As the chaos swallows Adelante, she gasps and cries out, because the attacks keep hammering in and then Jason starts cussing up a storm because it all goes to hell, barking at Theseus to just keep healing, while she's screaming her lungs out in the middle of the carnage. Jason is starting to lose his mind. Sweat pours down his face as he rages at how slow everyone is to read the situation, and it's so bad he even starts thinking Shin would have handled this way better. He whips his sword through the next wave, rage boiling over, because these orcs just won't stop pouring in like they're endless. Medea shouts at him as she cranks her magic up, and Jason just roars back, telling her to unleash it, because he's locked in, ready for whatever she's about to throw down. She unleashes a colossal blast that tears straight through the battlefield, shredding the orcs and carving out a massive, clear path in one deadly shot. Jason tells her she nailed it, but he slams the brakes on celebration. No rest, not yet. Then he fires up the team. They're charging in right now, using this opening while it's still there, So Theseus tries to tell her she's not fully healed yet, but Jason snaps that she's getting back out there, straight up barking that the moment she's ready, she's coming in as backup, right as They surge straight for the entrance to the next area. Jason barrels ahead, yelling at everyone to move, and Medea slams right into step behind him. He spots the other guys, grabs their attention, and asks straight up if they're still alive, then declares he's got their backs, and the soldiers just stare like they've seen a ghost, because they're relieved he finally made it. But that relief barely breathes, because right ahead of them stands a gigantic orc warrior over a brutal heap of corpses, pure nightmare. Jason snaps at the soldiers to keep the media secured, then demands to know if they caused the ground to shake, and makes it clear he's got his eyes on them to stay razor-sharp. Jason locks eyes with the towering enemy, sweat pouring as he wonders, this guy really the boss of the whole area? And S.H. Wayne just stands there like a nightmare, gripping a massive, battered sword that's soaked in blood. Jason fires up his own resolve. He's taking this guy down no matter what, because he's finally locked in on becoming a real hero, no matter what it costs. So he rockets straight into the chaos, slips past a massive swing by the slimmest margin, and hunts for the exact moment to strike back. One of the guys on the sidelines just stares, shaking his head. He can't believe Jason is charging after that massive monster all by himself. Jason roars to the group that he's making his move, so they'd better be ready. Then someone yells right back, "We've got it." Jason slams his blade into the orc's heavy hit, and the impact nearly tears his arms off. He realizes right then this orc is far stronger than he ever imagined. The pressure is crushing him, and he knows if he keeps pushing like this, he'll get swallowed whole, But there's something weird about how this dude fights, and Jason can't shake the feeling that a meathead like him can't possibly be the mastermind behind all these orcs. And he forces himself not to spiral into thoughts of Shin, teeth clenched. he snaps at himself to stop imagining how everything would play out if Shin were standing right there. Jason flashes pure confidence, clamps down on his weapon, locks eyes with the enemy, and declares that no matter what, this ends right here, right now. The whole crew surges in as one, dropping from above like a storm, then slamming forward in perfect sync with one brutal, everything at once strike, aiming all they've got right. Shane gets hit, and the impact slams down so hard that dust and blinding light explode everywhere, swallowing the whole area in one massive cloud. With the smoke still swirling in the air, Jason shouts, demanding if he finally got him, yet the guys right behind him look just as tense. Jason spots something through the haze, then it vanishes again. S.H. Wayne is still right there, gripping a charred body he once used to take the hit. Jason erupts in disgust, yelling if that guy really just threw one of his own henchmen in front of him like a human shield to save his own skin. And he explodes with pure frustration as he realizes his best shot didn't even leave a scratch, but he can't afford to vent because a colossal shadow drops down over him out of nowhere. Jason barely manages to react before a brutal force swings in his direction. So S.H. Wayne grunts hard and slashes with his busted blade in a massive arc, and the sheer force of that swing is so wild it cleaves through everything in one brutal hit. Medea just freezes there, trembling nonstop. Her face goes paperwhite as she finally starts to crack, so terrified she can't even force a single word out. Jason explodes forward with pure adrenaline, screaming for his strike to hit before time runs out. Right. Blade slices through the air, and before he can even react, it slams straight into his chest, blood bursting out as the brutal impact floors him. Medea just stands there, completely frozen, watching everything unfold in slow motion, too stunned to move, leaving. She tore away while screaming Jason's name, just as he crumpled to his knees, blood dripping onto the cold ground. Jason slumps there, wrecked and soaked in his own blood, stunned at how his life spiraled this far then. But Medea keeps shouting for him as he spirals into despair, replaying how he was meant to be a legendary hero, only to get absolutely wrecked by orcs. As Jason stares in horror, the massive orc S.H. Wayne looms over them, because their whole front line has finally crumpled. With the last of his strength, he jerks his head up and shouts at Medea, "Get out of there, save yourself." S.H. Wayne hoists a massive slab of stone like a doom hammer to end them both, and Jason can only stare as it's about to crush him, terrified, yet stuck wondering why it has to end this way. But Shin rockets in out of nowhere, throws himself in front of the strike, and yells at Jason, "What the hell are you doing here?" Shen slices straight through the orc, blocking his path, and he doesn't slow down for a single heartbeat as he, Cassandra, and Lime came barreling across the battlefield, sprinting for the others before It's too late, Shin demands if that massive tremor came from Medea's magic, and Cassandra snaps back that they're right on top of it. Then she points the way and tells them to move now. Blinding flash erupts up ahead, and they can't help but wonder if it's the way out, so they shove forward and charge right into the light. Shen manages to push through, until he spots Jason slumped on the ground, blood spilling everywhere, and everything hits hard. Medea is right there clutching him, totally unraveling as she screams for Jason to wake up, but Shen has zero time to waste. He shoots up a desperate prayer, then barrels straight at the giant orc, shouting at the thing to choke on his blade. S.H. Wayne heaves his massive stone sword up at the last second to slam into the strike, so shocked he can barely believe someone actually stopped him. Chintle's Cassandra and Lime, his last-ditch lifelines, step in and both of them tell him, "Don't worry, we've got the backup handled." While Shin locks onto the big guy, Cassandra and Lime dig in their heels and hold the line against the rest of the orc army. S.H. Wayne tells Medea he's been dying for a chance to clash with her, and she finally admits he's no joke. He's a truly worthy opponent. Shin barrels over to check on Midra, firing off, "Are you alive?" while Medea just freezes in full-blown shock. Medea spots Lime, sniffs out the mystery, and fires, "So why are you here?" But the slime shrugs and blurts that it's only helping because Shin asked. S.H. Wayne snaps completely. He howls that he'll kill every human in sight, screaming at Shin to get out of his way before he dies. Then the rest of the orc army surges onto the hillside, flooding the slope like they're about to crush the entire area in one brutal wave. Shin spots the reinforcements charging in, and steam builds into pure frustration until he notices something on the ground. He skids forward, snatches the staff out of reach, and tells Medea he's borrowing it to help even the odds. The staff rips his energy away in a flash, but Shen clenches his teeth, powers through the pain, and roars at the wind to come. A monstrous tornado barrels in and tears straight through the orc lines, hurling them around like they weigh nothing at all. Cassandra can't even believe she's swinging spells that big, so she grabs the chaos by the throat and dives in. Shin steadies his battered ally, roars at the sky that the flames are Cassandra's, and when it hits, he finally realizes they're safe at last. But Jason refuses to risk it. He bellows at the media team to back up while the fire keeps roaring. Shin groaned as the spell's backfire warped his mana, and the whole team snapped into action, because that injured guy needed treatment right now. Right as Jason comes barreling in, he blurts out whether Medea set the flames, then his body locks up in sheer shock when he spots Shin standing there. Atalanta and Theseus burst onto the scene the exact moment Jason needs them most, and the first thing they do is spell out just how grim everything really looks. Shen tells them Lime's powers finally sealed the wound and stopped the bleeding, but the cost is brutal. He's now wiped clean of all magical energy. As the pressure crushes down, Jason shoots a look to Theseus and asks if she's really ready to take on the fight that's coming. As they gasp for air, Jason scans his team, then snaps, "All right, what's happening out there across the rest of the field?" With the back secured, the real job shifts to holding things up from the inside. So Atalanta clocks that the whole plan hinges on getting back up to the duo, duking it out up front, and Shin can't help but nod along. Shen snaps at the group that they've got to hunt down the orc commander right now, because Medea fires back, demanding to know if she's really the one running the show, while Jason starts to explain everything, right when Atalante can't wrap her head around it. Another gift holder is really here, and while Medea warns it's a ton to process, Jason leans in and demands Shin confirm he's truly certain about all of this. Shin tells everyone he got the intel straight from the orc, because his translator skill makes it work, yet Jason can't shake the question, can that guy really be trusted? Shin insists the orca's fight is all the proof they need, while Jason peers into the shadows and demands, so that dark figure is the one right. As the two sides keep colliding in the middle of the field, someone snaps that the entire fight is nothing but an eyesore. Shwain admits his opponent is ridiculously strong, and you can hear the respect in his voice as he powers up a brutal, heavy strike, then crashes it down with every ounce of strength he's got. Theseus watches the orc keep charging forward and starts to doubt, was that last strike too shallow? Shwain's panic spikes as he stares at that woman, trying to figure out what monster she is, then it clicks, and he realizes things have gone seriously, dangerously wrong for him. The orc units are completely unraveling, roaring for their archers to unleash volleys at the human girl and wipe out the traitor with her. Right in the middle of all that chaos, Shin whips his eyes across the battlefield. Then bam, he spots his target and screams, "I found you." She blurts out for Atalante to get ready, then flashes him the green light as she slides into position. He jabs his finger at the orc, gripping the skull staff and demands, right there, that she can pull him down from their current spot. Atalante doesn't promise the moon, she just says she'll try. Then she snaps into full focus, draws her bow back, and locks her eyes on the target. She looses the arrow, whoosh, sending it zipping through the air, and it smacks the orc commander right out of his plans before he even gets a chance to react. She spots the hit and can't hide her excitement. She blurts out if they finally took him down, but Atalante is already shaking her head. The orc commander slams onto the ground, bleeding out, his whole body reeling, shocked beyond words that someone actually had the nerve to line up a direct shot at him. Atalante looks crushed, mutters that she screwed up, but then she flashes a smile and tells her, "You did great, because that guy is definitely hurt." Shen bursts into the opening, bellowing at the whole crew to swarm the commander right now, because he's been exposed. The orc commander is snapping completely. He's howling at his soldiers to surge ahead and shield him, like he's seconds from falling apart. Then the human soldiers snap too, screaming that they somehow pulled off taking down a gift holder. And the rest of the orcs just freeze in place, sweating buckets, eyes wide, totally clueless, until the dust starts to clear. Shen spots the commander twitching like he's got a second pulse and blurts, "Why is he moving again?" But Cassandra cuts in mid-sentence, "Already." Diving in from above, she screams that this ends right now, bringing her blade down with a thunderous. A massive strike carves straight through him. She lands it clean, and right as the commander finally drops for good. She thrusts her sword toward the sky and screams across the whole battlefield that the pig demon lord is finally dead. The human soldiers snatch their second wind. The older guys start roaring to round up the rest of the pigs, while everyone else storms in to avenge their friends, smashing the last of the orc forces to pieces while the survivors scramble and flee in panic. When the dust finally clears, Cassandra shouts for Shin. He spins around, then asks her and the others if they've got a minute to talk. That orc commander isn't dead at all. He's vanishing into the dark tunnels right now, slipping away before he's losing his mind over how everything went sideways. He thought taking out that mage would be an easy win, but now he can't stop replaying it. She ignored everyone and charged straight for his throat, and he's convinced the same kind of wild power runs in her, just like it does in him. Even with rage boiling inside him, a smug grin still breaks through, because in the chaos of the fight, he pulled off the perfect swap, trading himself for a decoy. And right away, he starts plotting his comeback. Once he claws his way back to the main lair, he'll regroup, lock onto revenge, and wipe out those few humans with powers that are still way more than enough. What really crushes him is his brother Wayne. He calls him a total traitor, and now he's kicking himself for not taking the chance to force him down and beat him into submission. He really believed his brother was the only one in his corner, until now, and now he's stuck wondering if this whole thing is just Wayne being petty after getting exiled. He's absolutely sickened that his own blood would side with the enemy, especially after everything he still let that guy slip past in the past. He finally slams into a doorway, convinced he's escaped clean, then he exhales, relieved he made it just in time. But Cassandra is already there, waiting for him, and she tells him it's exactly what she'd predicted. Then she shrugs it off like it was mostly just a lucky guess. Shin flat out said it was the smartest call to have her study his face, just in case he tried to pull something sneaky. The orc commander starts losing it, spiraling over how these guys even tracked him to his hideout. Then he spots Shin and realizes he's been hunted by the very one hunting him down, and catching an intelligent orc is way tougher than he ever imagined. He tilts his head up and spots Cassandra, and it hits him. She's the same woman who fought tooth and nail against the former chief. She drops her gaze to him and declares it's finally over, but the commander can't stop fixating on one thing: how he can even grasp what Shin said. Shen tells him point blank he has 0 soldiers left to hide behind, and the commander finally snaps into it. This lucky break is his only chance, because Shen makes it clear they're not letting him slip away. The commander sits there thinking, and suddenly he remembers humans can be absolutely terrifying and somehow impossibly trusting. He figures the smartest play is to act helpless, so he drops to the ground, spins a desperate sob story, and begs them with everything he's got to spare his life. While he's quietly planning to wipe them all out later, he stays in character, hands clasped tight, spouting lies that he never wanted any of this. He keeps clawing at Shin's feet, sobbing that he had no choice but to do it, while Shin just stares him down and lets slip that the two of them might actually be alike. And yeah, he was desperate to stay alive, doing some brutal stuff just to claw his way up. Shen drops his gaze and asks if this is really nothing but survival for him. Then he leans in and demands the commander swear he'll never return to the surface. Spotting the opening, the commander slips a secret little grin, thinking, this is gonna be easy, just watch these stupid humans fall for it. The orc commander keeps bowing and begging for forgiveness, swearing he's finally learned his lesson, but underneath it all he's secretly cracking up at how naive humans really are. But Shin just stares him down and drops the truth. He's got one warning to give, and it's for his own good. The commander freezes in total disbelief when she admits his special ability doesn't just work on attacks, it lets him read people's true intentions. Realizing he's out of time, the orc snaps and blurts at Shin not to mock him, then lunges in for one last, brutal strike. But Shin is lightning quick, and he wipes him out for good before the guy can even land a single hit. Cassandra strides up to Shin and praises him, because it hits him hard. This orc wasn't just anyone, he was the chieftain all along, even after Shin tried to cover it with a body double. As Shin finally catches his breath, he admits the guy was way sharper than he expected, but Shin's already sure he wouldn't have lasted much longer anyway. Cassandra clocks the look on Shin's face and fires. What's going on? Shin pauses, realizing he and the orc aren't so different, both were just clawing for survival with whatever they could get. She locks eyes with him and flat out asks if he's really thinking something like that, because it totally throws him off. But then she just erupts into laughter at him while he trips over his own explanation, cheeks burning with pure embarrassment. Cassandra lunged right up into Inchin's face, demanding he get it straight, because that orc didn't see anyone but his own people as tools, and even back then, Shin had the power to turn her into a pawn. He chose to ask her to be his partner instead, an absolute flip from that greedy orc who only ever used his special gift for selfish gain. So she jabs a finger at him and makes it crystal clear. His power is for helping people, which means the two of them are nothing alike. Shin stands there stone still for a beat, totally silent, with. That's when Cassandra starts panicking, blurting that he can't just go silent, because the silence screams embarrassment. She whips her head away and bolts, yelling that everyone else is already gone, and they've got to sprint off to find the rest of their friends. As everything winds down, Shin strides over to Wayne and tells him, loud and clear, that the fight is officially finished, on their side. Wayne glances at the dead chieftain for 1 second, shrugs it off, and calls it what it is. This guy tried a sneaky cheap shot, and it got him killed. Shen drops his gaze as he calls out Wayne's name, but the orc just shrugs it off. He says they fought to the death, his big brother fell, and that's the whole story. He glances back at those kid days, remembering how the commander, back when he'd only had a tiny scrap of meat, still split it with him, and how insanely good it tasted. Then he's spilling the truth. Before that guy ever got that kind of power, he had a heart of gold, and Shin just stands there, wordless, frozen in total silence. Wayne fesses up that he has no clue how humans deal with mourning, so he tells Shin to handle the rest, and Shin just nods in silence, thanking him quietly. They slam fists and Wayne snaps at him, "Don't you dare forget that promise," and Shin shrugs off the fear, swearing he'll be back again for sure. He left Shin hanging for a beat, staring as Cassandra walked off ahead of him. He stays there alone for a moment, staring hard at the fortress's massive, shattered gate like it's daring him to look away. Later that night, the story flips to the Corinth Adventurers Guild. Every corner's blazing with light, and the whole place is roaring with people. Inside the local tavern, the whole room is crammed with adventurers, all chowing down and knocking back drinks after a brutally long day. A massive feast sprawls across the tables as someone screams, "Grab drinks, cheers to us for wiping out those orcs." The moment the wind hits, the whole tavern explodes. Everyone hoists their mugs high, slams them together, and roars with cheers to celebrate the victory. But just as the noise blares on, a voice suddenly calls out Shin, snapping him and Lime around to hunt down where it's coming from. A bunch of girls swarm around them, squealing, "Is this the legendary slime everyone's obsessed with?" Then begging, literally begging, to pet him as he just sits there. Leaving Shin utterly speechless, Lime grins and promises, "I'll be right back," practically vibrating with how thrilled he is to be getting all that attention. Lime rockets off the ground and sails through the air straight toward the girls. And before he can even breathe, they all start fighting over him. One girl clutches him tight, murmurs in his ear, and swears he feels amazing. Shin can't believe it as his buddy acts like a full-on pervert, and meanwhile Lime is dying inside, smugly laughing because girls are way better than guys. Still, it makes Shin freeze for a beat, wondering if this slime can truly understand every single word people throw at it. A voice from the side suddenly mocks Shin, calling out that massive grin on his face as he watches the chaos unfold. And then it hits him, Cassandra's right there, already guzzling down a huge mug of beer like she was born for it. She clocks how red Cassandra's face is and demands to know how much she's had to drink, but Cassandra only giggles and refuses to spill a single number. Then she shoves a full mug into his hands and snaps that he needs to start drinking too, leaving him completely off guard as he takes the drink and he can't hide it. Seeing her like this hits him like a shock because he never pictured her liking wild, rowdy places like this. But Cassandra shoots her gaze away and admits she tried joining a party like this once before, only it went terribly. No one even made a move to walk up and talk to her the whole time. She just flashes a smile and shrugs like, "That's probably it. Guess I'm so gorgeous that everyone else was terrified to even come near." Making her spiral and insist there's no chance that's true, while Shin just sips his drink and asks if she really thinks that. He doubles down, tells her outfit today fits her perfectly, calls her beautiful as she walks out, and lets the moment land. Leaving Cassandra blushing hard as she snaps, "You're just saying whatever sounds good to make me feel better." But after a beat, she drops her gaze shyly and tells him, "Thanks anyway," even after the compliment. Shin and Cassandra are just kicking back with their drinks when a whole crew of adventurers suddenly shouts her name. One guy crowds right up in her face and blurts that her battle with the Orc Lord was insane, then begs her to spill the whole story. Cassandra's drowning in panic as another guy steps up and asks, "So it's really true, you beat that black orc and turned him into an ally?" Shin locks eyes, these are the Vanguard frontliners, right as they start praising Cassandra's strength, telling her everyone admires her. The crowd keeps swelling, and then one guy just blurts, "She's an angel," praising her beauty even while she's breaking down right in front of everyone. Seeing all these people show up just to talk to her genuinely hits Shin right in the feels. Cassandra can't stand all that attention, panic spikes, and she blurts that she has to make her rounds, then bolts straight into the crowd before anyone can stop her. The moment she's out of the picture, she spots Angelina hovering nearby, clearly uneasy, while some random guy keeps trying to charm her. So he yells that he's got a report for her, straight up the perfect excuse to tell that guy she's been called away for work. Angelina finally lets out a huge sigh of relief and thanks him for saving her, but Shin cuts in and says it's her own damn fault for being so ridiculously beautiful. Angelina shoots him a piercing look and flat out says he probably feeds every girl the exact same line. She keeps pushing the point, talking about what he was like after Cassandra and Pollux, then slaps him with total flirt, and Shin just stands there, absolutely stunned. She laughs it off like it's no big deal, says she's only messing around, then drops the bombshell that she heard just how much work he really put in. Leaned in with a bright blush and told him, straight up, that she was genuinely happy for him. Then she blurted out a quick, shaky thank you as Shin just froze. He tries to play it humble, credits the guild's support for everything, while Angelina just strolls away, humming a carefree tune like she's already won. Later on, she's planted at a table with Cassandra when she finally blurts out that Jason hasn't shown up in the hall even once, ever. Turns out Medea claimed the guy healed up perfectly, yet he still wouldn't show his face at the victory party. She lets out a tiny sigh, then accepts it as it is without making it a bigger deal. Angelina snaps her hands loud to grab everyone, then roars that Shin is officially the MVP of the entire mission, which makes Shin spiral into full panic as he blurts out that he didn't do much, swearing they only won because of Cassandra and the whole crew. Angelina doesn't slow down. She keeps insisting their performance was straight up incredible. She can't believe it. Somehow he dragged a black orc into the crew, even though tracking down the real chieftain was all Alshin's doing. She says his monster-led party is basically the stuff of legends, the S-ranked demon king, and Shin snaps back that she's way overhyped about him. As he stammers out, trying to convince them, no, he's not really their master, not at all. He claims Lime and those orcs are just there to help him out, but Angelina isn't buying a second of it, and she snaps that she's absolutely not overestimating him. She closes the distance and tells him to his face that she genuinely thinks he's truly amazing. She was spellbound by how hard he pushed to level up, even when it meant risking his life. It all started the moment he spotted the real Orc Lord, and since he crushed him with 0 loose ends. She tells him it's totally fine, go ahead and brag a little, just for today, suggesting he should go around bragging that he's the one who took down the boss, leaving Shin completely stunned and speechless. Right as the conversation heats up, Yumi comes shouting from far away, begging Angelina for just a second of her time. Angelina lets out a heavy sigh, looking totally crushed, because they were finally about to hit the good part of their conversation, and then He leans in, pulls his clothes close, and whispers to Shin that they've got to grab a meal together, like soon. As she bolts away, Shin just freezes on the spot, wheezing for breath, thinking that was way too close for comfort. Until Cassandra bursts in, flails her arms wildly, and yells his name to pull his attention back. She pouts hard and snaps, asking why he didn't call her out, then labels him mean, while he just awkwardly blurts that he didn't want to get in her way. A fierce fire sparks in her eyes, and she tells him, straight to his face, that if it's him, then she's totally okay. She even pushes him to drink together. They start clinking mugs, and Chen leans in, asking what she's been rambling about, because she's definitely had one too many already. Cassandra's cheeks flare red as she glances down at her drink, admitting she's been going on and on about her hero. Shun tells her he totally gets it, because everyone's got someone they idolize, and then he leans in and demands the name of the adventurer she's talking about. Pollux keeps her hero's real name locked up while she drinks, but once he's safe, she makes sure he gets a massive thank you for saving her life in that cave. She admits that for one wild second, he honestly thought it was game over, but he's just relieved he got to her in time, because he was seriously freaking out for her. She gazes up at him with wide, sparkling eyes, completely shaken by how much he cared, and then she asks, did he really worry about her? Then she snaps, screaming that she's over the moon, and launching into Shin so hard he can barely get out her name. Pollux hugs his chest tight and blurts out an apology, swearing the alcohol made him so clingy. Then, like she can't help it, she adds that he smells really *nice. She locks eyes with him and drops the truth she's been holding back for ages, asking if he'll listen, while Shin just freezes there, panicking like crazy. Right when she's about to spill her real feelings, a person barges in and screams her name at the top of their lungs, shattering the moment instantly. It's her brother, Castor, who starts scolding her, telling her to act proper and ditch any weakling, then demands she rely on him, and he gets cut off mid-sentence. Pollux snaps that her brother is a complete idiot for wrecking such a close moment, while Castor faceplints on the floor, bawling that his shins are shattered. Sheen starts to press her about what she was going to say, right before she gets cut off, but he stops himself, swallows the urge to ask, and decides the conversation can wait for later. Pollux flashes this terrifying smile and tells Shin she can't believe he brushed her off just to go flirt with other girls, making. She twists the knife harder, calling him out for having nerve, then flat out tells him she's going to kill him, and all he can do is sweat and blurt out, "Why are you so mad?" He tries to insist he wasn't flirting with anyone, but he blurts out that he was just talking to girls, then freezes, realizing he'd just stabbed himself with his own words. Pollux flips out, screaming that she'll beat that attitude out of him, and turns what should have been a simple mock battle into a full-on. They got a brutal one-sided beatdown, so savage it left them crumpled, face down on the mat, completely wrecked. Next morning, Shin swings open his window and peers out at the town, silent, calm, and waiting like it's holding its breath. Then his thoughts slam straight into Cassandra. How did he ever think he could take her on? And still, no matter what, relief washes over him because he's been her partner through everything. A few days have passed since that brutal orc riot, and now the guild is finally back on its feet, running things like it's business as usual. So Shen gears up to leave with Lime, snatches a tiny item on the way out, and mutters to himself that he should probably take it, just in case. He stuffs the item into his gear, praying he never has to pull it out for whatever's coming next. Now the route to the cave is open again. Shin and Cassandra rush back to keep the promise they swore, standing right there at the entrance. Shin flicks his eyes to Cassandra and tells her, no doubt in his voice, that he truly believes in her. This is it, the huge moment they've both been craving. Cassandra's eyes stay locked on him, and she tells him she knows every move, and there's no way she's losing, especially with her partner watching right there. She strides into the clearing where S.H. Wayne's waiting, throws out an apology for the delay, and immediately asks how his injuries are healing. S.H. Wayne crosses his massive arms and admits he's so bored just thinking about going out to find her himself. He locks eyes with her and says, if you're the one taking me down, then I couldn't ask for a better ending, so listen up, it's time to start. The three of them fanned out across the open ground, and that sharp tension kept climbing as they got ready to unleash their duel. Lime glares up at Chin and asks if this battle is even worth it, and Chin snaps that he can't stand watching his friends get hurt, yet they still have a promise they won't break. He realizes S.H. Wayne kept his promise, so now it's only fair they do the same for him. As S.H. Wayne goes through his warm-up, Shen clocks it instantly. This is how a warrior shows respect, by turning the coming battle into a full-on test against a truly dangerous opponent. Cassandra tells Shin to stop stressing. She's not worried at all, because she's been counting down to this fight with her own heart. Then she drops into a low, ready stance across from S.H. Wayne, and as they both prepare to finally clash, the showdown is about to begin. Cassandra's prophecy and blazing flame skills crash headfirst into S.H. Wayne's wild berserker strength, and at that point, no one can call who's really got the upper hand. Because they've fought side by side before, they already read each other like a book, so it all boils down to who's faster to outthink the other first. Shin clings to the sidelines, sweating through his nerves because the next move could come from anyone, and he's just waiting for the first one to strike. Then right as the moment hits, they both snap into action, so fast they turn into pure streaks, blurs on the field. S.H. Wayne hurls a brutal heavy swing with his blade, then Cassandra slips by so fast she vanishes past him, proving. Throwing off his speed so hard that Lime's head swims, she realizes she's already stuck the first strike, and she's driving that big brute backward. She pins him in place with a relentless storm of strikes, but Shin spots the risk in how she's driving forward, because he knows S.H. Wayne is seconds from slamming into berserk mode for a crushing counterattack, and now he can't stop wondering how Cassandra is going to survive the blast. S.H. Wayne bursts out laughing and tells Cassandra she's nowhere near bad, then goes full bold and says that if she were an orc, he'd propose to her on the spot. Cassandra just grins and tells him she has no clue what he's saying, but you can bet she's still absolutely loving every second of it. She surges forward, keeps the pressure on S.H. Wayne, refuses to back off, and sets her stance for a brutal overhead smash. The massive blade slams into the ground with a thunderous crash, then it hits you. The big guy wasn't going for damage at all. Shen stands there, absolutely losing his mind, screaming because he can't believe S.H. Wayne actually booted his own sword to reroute it midair. Cassandra doesn't even blink. She locks in through the chaos, waiting for the exact opening to strike while he's exposed, and S.H. Wayne rips back into the fight, yelling that she'd better not think he's the same guy she faced before, because she's about to find out what's different about him, but she rockets aside like it's nothing, calls out that she saw it coming from a mile away, and leaves the orc staring in pure shock. He skids across the dirt, desperate to steady himself, but he's too slow to react to what's about to hit him next. Cassandra snaps into an upward slash across his chest, blood exploding everywhere, and she lands the finishing move dead on time. Cassandra looms over the downed orc and tells him, if I can knock you out without killing you, I can keep you from tipping into a full frenzy. As S.H. Wayne lies there utterly crushed, she leans in close and declares, that's it, official checkmate. The big guy actually takes the hit like a champ. He admits it was a total loss while Cassandra calmly puts her blade back in its sheath. Then he tells her that was an amazing final battle, with zero regrets, and that's what leads to. Cassandra glances at Shin and blurts, "Translate what the orc is saying," and Shin nods like, "Don't worry, I've got this." Shen snaps his head toward Shin and demands, "Why didn't you wait for those injuries to heal before you jumped into this fight?" But the orc just shoots back, "Is that really what you think about?" Shin stares at his hand, mutters that there's no way he should have kept it after that guy hacked it clean off, and laughs that asking for a full recovery is just asking for the impossible. He locks eyes with them and tells them to just put him down if they're satisfied, because if they spare him, he'll snap back and start attacking humans again. Cassandra meets Chin's eyes and tells him she's got a request. Then Chin smirks and admits he'd been thinking the very same thing, knowing they'd never want that. Chintel's Shin begs him to promise he'll stop attacking humans, and maybe everything changes, but the orc slams the idea down on the spot, calling it impossible. He folds his arms tight and tells them straight up, his whole reason to live is to hunt down and clash with strong opponents, and if he has to give that up, he'd rather not live at all. Shin realizes they might not have to wipe everyone out after all, and maybe they can actually coexist, so he starts cooking up a plan. He blurts out the question to Shin, "So your only real wish is to fight guys who are strong," then smirks and says those strong opponents don't even need to be human, which makes. So Shin finally has to admit it's true, then he shrugs and points out the weird part. Humans are basically the only ones still brave enough to come down into this cave. Shin flashes a grin and says, "That only holds as long as the orc stays trapped in this cave." And then they hit him with the offer. If he wants a real challenge, he should just come with them, and Shin is left totally stunned. Shin breaks it down. Right now they're sitting at number 3 from the top, but they're hungry for the ultimate prize, the one spot for every adventurer, and they end up traveling all over for different jobs, so Shen leans in and tells him that wherever they're headed, they'll likely run into enemies even tougher than him or Cassandra, leaving. Shin asks if they're really cool with this since he's from a different race, but Chen just shrugs it off, saying they already have Lime with them, so who cares. Then he. Even so, loads of adventurers had watched him go toe-to-toe with that old chieftain, and he tells the orc, "Don't worry, the guild will back you up, and nobody will give you a problem." And Shin just drops his gaze and softly whispers, "I get it." Shen closes the deal by telling the orc to come up to the surface with them, and Shin thinks for a beat before nodding, "Yeah, I get it," and then Shin slams a huge thumbs up at him, tells Shuin it's go time, and swears to the orc that the world outside is way more fun than he could ever imagine. And they slam fists in a handshake to make it official, while Cassandra and Lime stare as the new team clicks into place, so the crew trudges back to the city, where the square is jammed with people on a blistering sunny day, so normal it almost feels like a setup for the next disaster, leading to. Shin shows up to meet Angelina, and there she is dressed to impress, laughing as she calls him early, clocking the sheer shock on his face the moment he sees her. Shin's totally baffled, he blurts out, asking if she's even supposed to be working right now, and she grins, saying her coworker is covering her shift so she blushes hard, tells her she looks amazing in those clothes, admits he almost mistook her for some noble lady, and that's when Angelina starts getting shy and she trails off, like the rest of the sentence is trapped in her heartbeat. And she blurts that it's been ages since they actually hung out outside the guild, and she nods along, saying she always looked swamped the times he saw her, but Angelina flips it right back on him, telling Shin that he's the real killer lately, especially after his promotion. Then Shin's suddenly all flustered, and tells her the only reason he's still standing here today is because of what she and that other person put into his head. Shin admits that thinking about them hits him with pure nostalgia, and while Angelina blushes, she dives into the memories, how they used to be inseparable every time they went out, and she blurts out about a shop she's been dying to check out all day. Shin grins, admitting he'd been thinking the exact same thing. He tells them to head over there right now, but his thoughts snap back to how badly things could have turned out had that person never shown up, leading to a flashback hit back when the three of them were total rookies, standing at the guild counter for the very first time as brand new adventurers. Even back then, a younger Jason strutted around like a big shot, bragging that he'd wiped out a horned rabbit with ease, and then demanded a far tougher challenge. Medea glares at him and snaps, "Shut it," because he's being brutally rude to the guild staff. Shin has to jump in and shut them down, then he turns to apologize to Angelina for the chaos they're causing. Jason brushes it off and shoots back, asking if she'll take the rabbit as materials, throwing Angelina into a total fluster, since she has to explain that the reward only comes after the appraisal. Jason snaps, tells her to take care of it, then shouts for the whole group to move out, ditching the desk behind them. Suddenly, Jessica, a woman bursts in and snaps that people like you and your gift are going to be a total nightmare to handle. Jessica leans in and asks Angelina if she's even listening, then teases her mercilessly for being such a cold, overworked former subordinate. But then things get weird. Jessica offers to rub out those stiff muscles, and Angelina yanks back and warns her, "I'm about to lose it." Jessica laughs it off and shoves a can of drink into his hands like a peace offering, then proudly says it's a brand new product made to knock out exhaustion. And while Jessica dives into her drink, Angelina leans in for a sniff of the herb tea, then freezes because the scent feels wildly unique. They sit there for a second before Angeline's face eases, and she finally blurts out that she's been feeling seriously worried lately. She still remembers Jason and Ath chasing adventure like it was destiny, but that girl aiming to become the god of medicine, that was different, and it left her staring, asking herself, why? Why would that girl ever hook up with Shin, when his translator power felt like it belonged in some totally different world, not a dungeon party full of grunts? Jessica listens to every word, smirks like she knows something, and tells Angelina, "You should probably ask her yourself." Right as they're talking, Shin pops up behind them, looking a little shaky, and blurts, "Am I interrupting?" And that's when everything abruptly cuts off, leaving. Angelina forced herself to play it professional as she asked how she could help, while Jessica spun around and told Shin she had something he had to see. A soot-dark hand slams a bundle of freshly foraged goodies onto the counter, boom, sending rare mushrooms and weird plants crashing down, roots and all. Jessica leans in hard, stretching for a perfect look at the loot, her eyes lighting up at every piece, while Angelina just stands there, staring like she's trying to figure out what's going on with this. Jessica teams up with the veteran guild member as she yanks out a lens and scrutinizes a glowing stone, and when Jessica says these items are insanely rare, stuff you basically never spot even on top-tier gathering quests, your jaw practically drops. She's already breaking out in sweat from the adrenaline, and she blurts, "How the heck did you even get your hands on this much rare stuff?" He fires back right away, all defensive, "I didn't steal a single thing." He leans in and tells them the guild already knows about his special gift, then adds that the animals he made friends with in the woods straight up pointed him to every prime spot. But Jessica isn't fully convinced it'll be easy. She calls it a headache waiting to happen, and Shin nods, saying he'll handle the talking, yet he still expects to run every single negotiation himself. After a quick pause, Jessica decides they should swap the items for fast cash, then kick Shin off his official training. She locks eyes with Shin and tells him he's had an insane lucky run, because he cleared his very first quest with 0 problems and walked away with a sack packed full of rare materials. Jessica's like, "Do you even need beginner lessons anymore?" Then Shin snaps her attention with a serious look, and that first trip into the world showed him why he's got to get way stronger if he wants to stand beside his friend, and the only way to do it is to go all in and learn everything he can right now. Shin stares at his own hands, and you can practically feel the weakness dragging him down. He knows he'll never fight like Jason, but he's desperate to reach his old friends again, even if it's only by a tiny step. He's lost in thought about the old party, how Jason tore forward as the front line, while Asu rained down this brutal, game-changing magic support he simply couldn't replicate, and that's why he's locked in right now, jaw set, eyes sharp, telling himself with absolute certainty that he has to catch up to them. Braced against the guild counter, she leans in and tells Jessica that his drive is exactly why he's asking her to train. Jessica just grins, thinking his attitude is far from bad. Jessica admits she actually loves people who take things seriously. Then she pauses mid-sentence and says she's got just one weird curiosity on her mind. She pushes Shin, asking if his gift can reach monsters too, and Shin doesn't even blink, saying as long as the creature has a will, he can talk to it. Jessica snaps her gaze to Angelina, calls her Angie, and tells her straight up, "You're about to be a massive pain to deal with." Angelina just stares, totally confused, then asks, "What do you mean?" Jessica explains that being able to talk to anything is a massive cheat code for getting information, but there's a social catch, and it can get messy fast, like for example. She dares her to picture this. What would people say if they wandered into a cave and found an adventurer just standing there, casually talking to a monster? Angelina pauses for a beat, then admits it would look absolutely unhinged. She'd assume the guy snapped, or worse, that some enemy spell had him under control. Jessica meets his gaze head-on and snaps a warning. If he uses his gift carelessly, he's playing with fire, because he'll end up hunted by other adventurers all over again. Soshin's breathing turns shaky. He panics and blurts, "So what am I even supposed to do? My only real skill makes me the target." Jessica shoots a hand up to stop him, tells him to breathe, and demands he actually listen to everything she's about to say next. She tells him straight up that what he needs right now isn't more power, it's a reputation that finally turns heads. She tells him point blank, start by earning trust, first with the guild, then with the Hitori family, because the real plan is to recruit as many allies as he can among the local craftsmen and merchants, and Angelina says there's no big work for him to grab anyway, and Jessica nods along, because how's some rookie supposed to handle anything solo? Suddenly, Angelina clocks the perfect solution to his problem, but you can see a flicker of worry in her eyes, because she can't shake the feeling about what Jessica might be cooking up. Jessica snaps a wild look into Shin's eyes and declares that she and Angelina are going to hammer every last secret about the guild and this city straight into him. She stands there like she owns the room, pure confidence, then drops the truth. She's a C-rank instructor and she wants him as her personal assistant. When she asks Jin what he thinks, his eyes flare with excitement. Then he practically leaps at the chance, begging her to hand him the job. For the next few weeks, everything turns into a dizzy blur for Shin. He's sprinting nonstop, running errands left and right, and getting dragged from one thing to the next, so it just keeps going. He spends every single day off from his main party shadowing Jessica, hauling heavy gear up. Mountains of studying battered him until his head was spinning, and that's when he finally clocked it. Jessica is a straight-up massive slave driver. She's basically throwing him right into the deep end, teaching him the ropes and tossing him into her massive web of contacts, and before he even knows it, the time's already flying, and a whole year cranks by, and then, boom, everything they busted their backs for pays off when their group's rank finally climbs. And Shin's name starts blowing up while Jason throws a massive party, cheering because they finally hit D rank, though Jason's still feeling. He flooded with ego, swung his shiny new sword like it owned the place, and bragged that he'd reach A rank in no time. He snaps his head to Shin and tells him to quit slacking with weak people, then actually start training, but Shin isn't buying it for a second. He hits Jason with the truth. His connections are the only reason that sword exists at all. Sue watches them and the thought hits her hard. Shin's growth isn't just progress, it's going to dump even more work on her shoulders. Angelina freezes for a heartbeat, chooses to honor Shin's wishes for now, then. But Jason won't drop it. He huffs, brings up a rumor he swears he heard, and claims an adventurer died at a party Angelina was supposed to be watching. Shen snaps at him to shut it, saying the second you're stuck in D rank, everything gets brutal, and accidents start popping up no matter what. Jason acts like he's finally getting it, straight up admitting they could get wiped out if they slack off. Then his ego snaps back in, and he starts bragging that a guy as great as him would never mess up. As Shin starts to leave, Jason yells, asking where he's headed, but Shin just waves him off and says he's on his way to a meeting. The story snaps to a bar scene. Shin is sprawled out cold on the counter, passed out next to Angelina, like he definitely drank way too much. He finally sputters awake, confused about why he passed out in the first place. Then it hits him. Jessica's that drink is the reason, and now his head is screaming like a drum. He catches the last bits of Jessica's apology to Angelina, then blurts out, "What's going on?" and demands they explain what they're talking about. Jessica keeps going, gushing about how that party just clawed its way up to D rank, and they're so pumped to start pulling in real money, while as she tries to comfort Angelina, insisting the tragedy wasn't her fault, Angelina only keeps her eyes on the ground, saying she can't bear the thought of anyone else dying. Shin stares at Angelina's crushed expression and blurts out the question burning in everyone's mind. If the job is dragging her down like this, why doesn't she just quit? Angelina mumbles into the counter that it's impossible, because she actually loves her job and way too many people are depending on her, so she just keeps nodding, finally realizing she's too dedicated to ever walk away. Jessica lunges in to back her up, telling Angelina to believe in herself, because her work genuinely saves people, and just like that, Angelina lets out a quiet little reply as the fear finally starts to loosen its grip. While Angelina sprawls passed out on the table, she forces her eyes open, stares at Jessica with pure panic and begs her, please don't meet the same fate as the others, because she just wants Jessica to stay alive. Jessica throws her head back and laughs with a huge grin, straight up saying she's got no intention of dying yet. She's already stacked up a ton of money for her big dream, and that means she's got to keep going. Jessica finally cracks it. She's got a real shot at opening her own shop and retiring for good because she refuses to let anyone kill her now. Angelina's eyes light up like, that's amazing. And she makes Jessica swear that her and Shin will be the very first customers. Not long after that night, Jessica officially hung up her instructor badge, and right when Shin started climbing the ranks as a solo adventurer, everything was about to explode, because he was about to. He ended up taking over Jessica's old job, training the new recruits, and suddenly all three of them got slammed with their own lives, so the hangouts that used to feel nonstop, they dried up fast. Angelina was doing great too, so great that she finally clawed her way into a promotion at the guild, and in her new role she looked genuinely happy, smiling at everyone as she went, and then life. For a little while, life felt insanely good. Shin threw himself into training every single day, and it finally felt like the pieces were clicking into place. As the days dragged on, Shin suddenly gets called out from right near him, and it's exactly the moment he'd been terrified would happen. And he snaps around to ask Pollux what happened, but she's gasping so hard she can barely manage Jessica's name, until. Then she finally blurts it out. Jessica just got brought in, and the injuries are absolutely brutal. Pollux blurts out that the whole guild is in full-blown panic right now, but Shin doesn't even hang around for the details. He just launches into a sprint. Right at the guild entrance, everyone's going wild, screaming for people to get out of the way for an emergency, while Angelina freezes in total shock, and another girl yanks her attention away, warning her not to look too long, but it's already too late. When a stretcher rumbles by, blood spills out behind it, and everyone snaps to the truth. Jessica's the one on the ground. Shin bursts onto the scene, totally panicked, and screams out for Angelina like his life depends on it. He finds her safe behind the counter, and the person nearby lets out this huge sigh of relief. At least she's okay, but Angelina just stares at him, gasping that the guild staff told her he'd likely show up. She's still out of breath from that sprint, wobbling on her feet so Angelina can't. Angelina turns away, her eyes glassy with heartbreak, and whispers that she's okay, begging him to head home for now. Shin stays put, snaps that Angelina can't just leave him standing there when she's this upset, and Angelina fires back that she'll listen if he finally wants to talk, but then she snaps, "Shut up," and Shin freezes so hard he nearly forgets her name as soon as she says it. Angelina finally snaps, screaming that she's fine, then raging that she'll end up dead like everyone else anyway. She keeps pushing him back, snapping that he needs to stop being so nice and to stay far away from her completely, so Shin stares her down with a dead serious face and tells her flat out, he's not dying. Angelina snaps at him, calling him a liar, and then screams that Lava, Hayes, and Juna, right before they were killed, had all promised the same damn thing, and she reminds him that even Jessica swore everything would be totally fine, and then, right now, everything changes. But now it's real, she might actually die, and that crushing fear topples Angelina to the floor, sobbing hard in tears. She drops to her knees, lowers her voice, and whispers her name right there, still shattered, sitting on the floor as they. Then he locks eyes with her, calm and fearless, and swears, one last time, that he will not die. Chantal Angelina, he's got every lesson and every scar his old friends handed him, and now he's telling her, trust me, just trust me. But Angelina drops her gaze, sobbing as she whispers that folks like her can only watch the adventurers walk out and disappear. And she can't shake the feeling that everyone out there is risking everything, while she's stuck sitting back, hands folded, praying like it'll solve everything, until she tells him, no, it's not like that at all. Because she's so crazy good at grabbing the right quests, they can finally step out into the world knowing they're safe. He tells her that when everything gets brutal out there, the only thing that keeps them marching is picturing her smile. So he locks eyes with her and demands she never claim she's done nothing for them. Angelina's eyes brim with fresh tears as she whispers his name again, and then she snaps, lunges into a tight hug, and sobs into his shoulder as Jessica watches from the counter. Jessica breaks into laughter at the whole mess, reliving how she truly believed she was finished, but she couldn't resist teasing Shin for that cheesy, I won't die line, and he shoved his face into his hands, drowning in pure embarrassment. Angelina lets out a huge sigh of relief, smiling at the group and blurting that she's just insanely happy Jessica is safe and sound. Jessica flashes her a huge grin and winks, then drops the truth. She really did keep that promise to her after all. While they're trading stories at the bar, someone suddenly cuts in and declares that Jessica's official days as an adventurer are over. But trust me, it's for the best. She finally opened the shop she'd been dreaming about, and it's already a hit with every local girl. Jessica scoots closer, whispers to Angelina, and asks if the person parked nearby is really tied to Shin. Angelina looks totally caught off guard by the question, right by the nearby table. Cassandra's just sitting there with S.H. Wayne and Lime, and everyone's stunned she's actually hanging out like nothing's wrong. Cassandra's face flushed hard as she blurted out that she just happened to walk in and catch them, then quickly said she didn't want to ruin their moment. Shen tries to patch things up on the spot, nudging Jessica to bring out food for the whole group to share. So Jessica flashes him a grin, snatches a snack, and tells him straight up that those smooth moves of his have seriously leveled up lately. Jessica tells them she'll handle the order while everyone heads up to the terrace, and she just slips in a quick thanks like it's no big deal. He ushers everyone out, and right there by the bar, Jessica throws her arms up in a wave. Everyone clinks their mugs together, cheering like they just sealed the mission's victory, and Shin and Cassandra dive into a colossal spread of food, tearing in like it's their next big mission. Shin shovels food into his mouth as Angelina and Jessica gab nearby. Cassandra leans in and asks if these are the comrades Shin picked for himself, because from the looks of it, they seem like a pretty solid bunch. Jessica agrees, and yeah, she admits she was shocked because he started teaming up with monsters leaving. Shin's win didn't just impress the room, it made the bigwigs actually okay the party, leaving everyone at Lime stunned. Angelina looks absolutely drained, and she tells you the whole ordeal nearly broke her. Jessica jumps in and asks if he's got a name for his party yet, but he and Lime can't seem to agree on one. Cassandra finally blurts out a name for the group, Legion, and everyone freezes for a beat, staring like the words might mean something big. Shin digs it, but he needs the whole crew to back him. Cassandra and Shin are totally in, and even Lime goes, "That sounds badass," so they lock it in on the spot and make it official. The whole crew slams their mugs together and cheers, then Shin grins and declares, "Starting today, we're officially Legion." Later that night, she slips back through the city streets beneath a blazing full moon. He murmurs a little tune as he tries to remember where that house is exactly. Lime and Shin are already checked out, and all they can think about is food and a place to sleep. As he neared the building, he spotted someone posted by the front door, staring right at him, so he slips behind a wall to disappear, and right away a rat nearby squeaks, telling him this guy has been posted there since before the sun even set. Shin leans on his little informant's tip and peeks back around the corner, then he spots it, and his whole body locks up in shock. The item they're clutching in their hands looks way too familiar to let it slide. He decides to march right up to them, stops a few feet away, and asks straight out if she's really a Sioux. The moon hangs high over the city, glowing through the clouds on a dead quiet night where the Sioux's posted right outside, looking ready to explode. She's calling Shin an idiot and firing off complaints about how long she's been stuck standing there. Shin stands frozen, locked on the hooded girl, praying this is really her then. But she doesn't stall for a second, she just blurts out, "Hey," then fires off one question right away. Are the rumors true that he's leaving the Golden Fleece? She's totally thrown off, she already knows it, so before he even gets a word out, she barrels into his arms. He's completely lost, and then she inches in close and starts to. She leans in and takes this long, slow sniff, then locks eyes with him and flat out says he smells like another woman, so. And that totally sends Shin into a panic. He's blushing like crazy, then blurts out, "What are you even talking about?" Trying to stay calm as his words trip over themselves, he stammers out, "Why are you even standing out front of my house at this hour?" So Sue finally steps back, cracks into a more serious tone, and tells him straight up, she's not here for nothing, she needs to ask him a favor. Shin's drenched in sweat, and when Ath bluntly asks if he's really scared of F, he can't even process it. She drags the moment to a stop, locks eyes with him, and demands he come with her to the village of Gorgons, because she's got more to say. Shin just freezes on the spot, totally stunned, blurting out the place's name over and over like his brain can't accept what he's hearing. The air feels suffocating, so he lunges for a distraction. He offers to brew tea, tells her to wait 1 second. Ath finally relaxes, shrugs out of her coat, and flashes her rank B gear like it's the real deal. As they finally settle in, Shun's skepticism spikes. He shoots her a sharp question. "Were you in the group that voted to kick me out?" And the doubt keeps snowballing like why? Why is she popping up right now, asking for a favor like this? He thrusts a hot mug into her hands and snaps a warning, "Be careful with it." So she takes a sip, leans in, and demands he tell her every detail about what happened while she was gone. Then she realizes fast that she hasn't even spoken to Jason yet. Then he sits her down and lays out everything that's happened since his exile, even how they built a brand new guild. But Ath isn't smiling. She glares daggers at him and demands, "Do you have the faintest idea why I'm furious right now?" He couldn't help it, sweat poured down his face as he thought, why am I the one getting scolded right now? He drops his head in defeat and apologizes to Ath, admitting with total honesty that he has absolutely no idea what to say. Ath lets out a long, shaky breath, then tells him, "Listen to me for a second." She leaned back and fired the question, basically daring him. Did he even bother to sit down with Jason and hash everything out? She hits him with the truth. Back then, the three of them swore a promise. They'd become heroes together. Ath swears Jason could never mean it when he says to kick him out, but Shin snaps back that Jason flat out told him he wasn't strong enough. He remembers Jason snapping that lately he's only been helping everyone else, and that it looks like he's finally stopped fighting for himself. Ath says Jason's a total idiot. He's not even honest about what he feels. He just tries to fire him up with a kick to the pants. She flashes a sharp look and says she's sure that stupid woman was the one whispering in Jason's ear while she was gone. Ath starts taunting Medea, mimicking how she might have tested Jason just to see if she was even worthy of their group, and he's sure she's the one who poisoned his mind with all that garbage. Ath fires a question at Shin. Does he really not know Jason's been nothing but trouble ever since they were kids? And Shin has to admit it. Yeah, the guy's always been a full-on handful. He turns his head and tells her that even if she's right about how Jason acts, some things just shouldn't be said out loud. Shingo goes silent for a beat, and you can tell, whatever's on his mind feels way too heavy to carry. Athia cuts in, eyes dropping as she spits it out. She's not only furious at him and Jason, she's furious at herself for not seeing how much he was drowning. And she drops into a deep bow, apologizing from the bottom of her heart for messing up, even after they've been in each other's lives for forever. Right after the apology, Ath jerks his head up and demands of point blank, "So you're saying I really won't be going back to the Golden Fleece party?" Shun clenches his fist so tight his arm trembles, blurting, "I'm sorry," but he locks eyes with her, keeps a stone-cold face, and tells her straight up he's never going back there. No chance, not ever. Ateo exhales, then nods like, "Yeah, I get it," accepting the reality of it, because even so She warns him not to get comfy yet. She's still going to punish him and Jason the right way, and that threat shoots a visible chill straight through Shin's spine. Ath pivots mid-convo and tells Shin she's got another question on her mind, then fidgets as she asks, voice shaking a little, what kind of person Cassandra really is. Shin grins and tells her she's amazing. Sure, she's a bit shy, but she's insanely skilled, and he knows he can count on her no matter what. Athen sinks back onto the bed, smirking as he says it's damn near impossible to find someone that reliable, unless you're talking about a top-tier, beer-ranked guild. She insists she's okay for now, and reminds him there aren't any guild jobs running anyway, so he asks if it's cool for him to go check with his team about everything. Ath flashes him a gentle smile and says thank you, and Shin practically exhales with relief, like things are finally back to normal between them. Under a blazing full moon, the night rolls on across the city. At last, Ath lets out this huge yawn, swearing she's totally drained after talking for that long. Shen drops his drink on the table and says they're hitting the guild together tomorrow morning, then she nods along without a second thought. Right then, Ath just settles in and declares, "I'm going to bed," and Shin's instantly in panic mode, yelling that this is actually his room, but she just blushes and shrugs it off like, "It doesn't bother me one bit, because they've been sharing the same bed since they were little kids." Shun's face flushes crimson, cold sweat pours down, and he blurts out, "We were just little kids back then, we only shared a bed." Ath just shrugs off the whole freakout, burrows under the covers, and tells him good night like none of it ever mattered. Shen lunges in front of her, yelling that he's not finished talking yet, and demanding, "Are you really gonna kick me out when I'm homeless right now?" Ath peeks over the edge of the blanket with a heavy, sad look and tells Shin, straight up, he's being way too mean to her. It totally gets to him. He's still flustered as hell, but with a heavy sigh, he tells her she can stay just one night. Atha giggles into her pillow, grin spreading, and tells Shin, "See, you're actually a really kind guy after all." She finally relents and says goodnight, then sits on the floor right by the bed while he carefully helps tuck her in. He looks completely wiped out, but he clenches his teeth and tells himself it's time to gather his own gear, because only then can he finally crash and get some sleep. Right when he's about to move, Ath shoots a hand out in her sleep, grabs his sleeve, and mumbles for him not to go, while Shin freezes, staring down at her and secretly judging her as a Sioux. He can't believe the mess he stumbled back into. His whole party is basically shattered, and all his other childhood friends are still nowhere to be found. She looks genuinely crushed, realizing his other half just kicked off a new party and ditched him completely, left alone in this town. Ath tells him it's okay, softly whispers that she's right there for him, and Shin just goes completely silent while the first rays of sunrise spill over that massive stone building where they'd crashed for the night. Shin jolts awake at the table, rubs the sleep from his eyes, and then the smell hits, something's cooking, and he blurts, "What is that scent?" And then he lets out a huge yawn, flashes a grin, and stretches his back like a morning ritual. Ath shot him a shy, tearful look, then whispered that she'd cooked breakfast from troll meat and herbs to fuel him back up. Shen. She worries about trying a brand new recipe, even if the meat sounds off, Then Ath snaps with concern and asks if she's been a bother, because he looks exhausted. Shen shoots her down fast, then admits he wasn't rejecting her at all, he was just lost in how nostalgic it all feels. He tells her to just dig in, takes one huge bite, and freezes, totally stunned by how wild that flavor is. He's stunned when it actually tastes good, like pork, while Ath smiles and says she knew it was her best work yet. Shin drains his drink, surprised that the weird mix of ingredients still somehow tastes amazing, then sets the mug down and thanks Ath for the food. Ath. Math takes a sip from her own cup, says that him showing up with a job request is a massive deal, and tells him it finally looks like he's making real progress. Then the scene cuts. Then the talk pivots to Jason, who leans in and says he grabbed solid clues while he was out traveling, because he's on a mission to hunt down the ingredients for a panacea. And Jason wastes no time making it crystal clear. He wants to use Shin's exact skills to get his hands on it. Right now in the present, Shin lays out the whole story to his brand new crew and then fires off the big question: what do you guys think about taking this job? Shen blurts out that maybe this hard mission will finally let him prove himself against a powerhouse, while Wayne can only pray it turns out to be an easy paycheck. Cassandra's not buying it at all. She shoots Shin a hard question: are you really okay with helping? Then she points out the ugly truth: these are the very same people who threw him out like trash. Shin tries to brush it off as a mix-up, but Ath cuts in fast, explaining it's not about that old party at all, it's a personal request from her. She snaps into a totally serious stare and says she'd never, ever have let those guys exile him, right in front of her. It would have never happened. An intense, breath-holding silence snaps between her and Cassandra as they lock eyes and glare like neither will blink first. Shun barrels in fast, yells at both of them to shut it down, because they're still inside the guild. A voice from the side jumps in and fully backs him up, saying he's absolutely right. She freezes when Angelina strides over, then blurts out, face to face, that a lawsuit is on his side. She adds that his client credibility is rock solid, and suddenly the whole deal feels way more legit. Ath shoots back immediately, promising to drop half the reward as a deposit right now, then she'll handle every supply they'll need. Angelina swears she can personally vouch for him. She's known him since his rookie days, and then she turns to the crew, demanding their verdict. Cassandra pauses for a heartbeat, weighs it all, then mutters that it looks like they've basically got no choice. So she finally caves, and with her own mouth, she announces to everyone that they're taking the job. But then she locks eyes with Shin and asks, straight up, if he still planned to hit this mission even after everyone else told him no. She tells him partners means she can read him like a book, but she still pauses to make sure Lime and Wayne are totally on board with the plan. Shen looks absolutely wrecked by what's going on, but Wayne and Lime are fired up, ready to roll the moment it's go time. Cassandra steps up and introduces herself to Ath properly, and right after that, Wayne and Lime stand tall and fire off their names too. Shin pulls out the paperwork to seal the contract, but Ath gets derailed, because the voice on the other end sounds way too familiar. As they stride through town, Shin can't stop thinking about the sister Ath brought up earlier, while she points to a nearby shop. Wayne grabs the moment and heads to a local stall, testing the razor edge of a massive blade while he checks out fresh gear. Later at the library, Angelina slides over to Shin and grills him. Did those old files turn up anything scary while he digs through them? The records spill about a nightmare monster, crafted by demons, that's so brutal it can chew right through mithril. Shen bluntly says the last time this thing was spotted is right where they're headed, but Angelina can't help hoping she's just spiraling over those old rumors. A cold sweat breaks out on her skin as she grabs his attention. Running straight into an A-rank monster is suicide out there. Shin just shrugs it off with a laugh, telling her that if something that terrifying ever shows up, he'll snatch Ath up and bolt. Shen finally exhales, because with allies like these at their side, they're not walking into this blind. Wayne and Lime grunt in full agreement, and Shen vows they'll get everyone back in one piece, right? And Ath rolls in with this huge horse-drawn carriage and blurts out an apology for the bulk. Cassandra's stunned, staring like, wait, a ride this fancy is really Shin's personal property, because as Ath always does, she heads out to remote spots where there aren't any stagecoaches, then casually tells you she's been pulling in extra cash on the side, right up until that's exactly how they scored their own wheels for the trip. Shen's like, of course, Ath and I'll just swap turns driving this thing. He whips his head back toward the others, and then he orders Cassandra and Wayne, you're on official lookout duty for this ride, and with that he roars at everyone to move, because their prize is the remote Gorgon village, so the carriage lurches forward and barrels across the rocky plains. Once the wheels hit the road, Shin glances back and asks the two girls if they want to slip into the carriage and get some rest, but Cassandra tells Shin to finally rest, but Ath refuses to move. She swears she's fine and demands Cassandra go inside, leaving Shin stuck in the middle like a tug-of-war rope that won't snap. Cassandra just lets out a tired sigh and tells them, try your best to get along, because we're stuck together on this trip. Their trip shoves them through every kind of terrain, setting up camp, scrambling to wash up, and pushing forward no matter what. After riding along for a while, Cassandra finally peeks out from the back, and her eyes widen because the forest ahead is getting dangerously thick. Shinad's mutters under his breath, telling himself they're almost at the village. This is where they'll set up their base. He figures if everything goes right, they'll reach by tonight. Then a sudden asterisk thud from the back of the carriage jolts him mid-breath. As S.H. Wayne warns them, should have guests be on the way. He sniffs the air, swears he doesn't smell anyone strong, but he's still totally ready for a good time, and right then the crew spots it, danger closing in as a massive swarm of my tango monster forms a living wall around them. S.H. Wayne rockets down to take them on. Shen bursts out that they want no trouble, begging the creatures to let them pass, but it's useless. Shin can tell the leader won't hear a word of reason, and that means something's off with Nyan Shun, so S.H. Wayne steps up to the front and tells Shin to back off. He's taking over the fighting. Shun yells a warning about the poison as S.H. Wayne starts swinging his huge blade to carve a path through it, and Cassandra shoots in, declaring she'll keep the carriage safe. She calls out that Shinchi's on it, and we'll burn through our last bit of energy to blast those mushroom monsters into oblivion. Angelina gasps as a towering wall of fire obliterates the monsters in seconds. Then she just stares over like, do you see how insanely amazing Cassandra is? But it's not just her. S.H. Wayne is sprinting so hard he turns into a black blur, whipping through the swarm and tearing them apart with pure, insane power. And even after all that, Shin realizes the brutal truth. There are simply too many enemies swarming them, and they can't take this on like this. Cassandra leans in and demands Shin's plan, but right as he's about to speak, everyone's eyes snap to something off. Monsters begin bubbling and melting into one twisted, shared form. Shen spots the threat and screams at S.H. Wayne to back up right now as the ground starts to shake violently. The crew yanks back at the last second as a huge, nasty blob swells into existence, and she erupts, screaming, "What the hell is this thing?" Turns out the monsters they just crushed are fusing together into one colossal beast, and Shin can barely process the nightmare he's staring at. Someone fires off wind magic to blast it away, but she screams, "You don't get to just leave it alone to grow." Cassandra glares at the giant beast and snaps that they have to finish it right now, before things spiral any worse. Everyone demands to know how they're supposed to pull it off, and she snaps that if she goes all out, the whole forest gets erased too. Then Shin realizes they just walked into a massive, terrifying problem. The massive mushroom monster erupts in a bone-rattling roar, and the entire forest shakes like it's about to collapse. Shin locks eyes on it, convinced that no matter how huge it gets, there's still a buried core hiding somewhere underneath. His gaze stays nailed to the beast, because one perfect, clean shot is all it takes to drop it. Angelina raises her hands and begins the spell, while S.H. Wayne taunts the enemy, making it crystal clear they aren't here for conversation. And Shin stares at both of them, begging for their help so they can smash through this together. Right then the crew spots it. The monster's arm starts bubbling, twisting, and morphing into something far worse. It turns out the creature is draining magic straight from the ground, gulping it down just to keep itself powered up. The beast whips a massive limb down, smashing the ground, and it barely misses the party as Shin clocks it. This thing is way faster than it looks. Cassandra leans in and demands the plan. He tells her, "Keep the monster busy, wait for my signal," and she shoots back, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." Shun blasts "Everybody listen up," as the team regroups for one last, final push. The monster hurls a hulking, crushing arm, and it tears straight through the nearby trees like they're made of paper. Chantal's Angelina buffs his attack, and she snaps into a chant to kick it off. S.H. Wayne swears he can feel a wild surge of power ripping through his veins as Chantal shouts that it's time to move. The orc snaps back. He's ready right now. Energy rips through Shin's sword as he braces for the biggest strike of his life. He rockets straight down from the sky, smashing for the monster with a bone-crushing heavy blow. That huge beast freezes in shock as the impact slams straight into its face. Cassandra keeps their attention locked down while she unleashes a massive wind blade. S.H. Wayne shoves them back, breathless, just as they scream that this ends today. Shin throws his whole weight into one massive swing, carving a giant, perfect hollow circle straight through the monster's chest. Angelina freezes in shock, praying that one clean hit ended it, but Shin stays locked in, guard up, and growls, "Don't count it, this isn't over." The creature's flesh stretches, then snaps back, then it hits. The beast is still alive, desperately trying to heal as. Wayne spots a glowing core buried deep in the monster's writhing pile of regenerating meat, and he makes his move, right then. He tightens his grip on the weapon as dark energy whips around his hand, then he rockets forward and unleashes a furious spinning airstrike. Shin sprints ahead to help, yelling that he's coming to rescue him, but Cassandra snatches him back and orders him to sit tight and watch. A blade plunges clean into the monster's core, and Wayne just sits there, smirking, letting out a little laugh because, once the giant beast finally started melting into nothingness, Shin shot his sword up in triumph and yelled that he'd done it at last. Later, Shin towers over Wayne as the orc gasps for breath. Stunned, he can't wrap his head around how fast Shin snapped into action in that split second. Wayne just shrugs it off, says he got lucky, and admits he went straight for the loudest part. Then Cassandra strolls by and tells him, "You did a great job." The giant monster finally collapses, melting into a steaming puddle. Then Cassandra whips around to Shin and demands, "All right, what's your plan for this mess?" He stares at the wreckage and thinks, this can't just be left here, then tells her he's got a damn good idea. As the crew starts to wind down, someone yells that it's finally over. Then Angelina calls everyone over, grinning, because she's finished cooking. She tells Shinchai he's got another masterpiece on his hands, and he admits he's crazy excited to try it, until things get weird right when. The whole crew, Wayne, Lime, and even Cassandra, stands frozen in place, and every single one of them looks terrified of what's simmering in that pot. Everyone crowds around the bubbling soup, and then, right when the steam rises, someone blurts out, "Wait, did she really use monster mushrooms as the main ingredient?" They stare at this food like, is it even safe? Then shrug and dive in anyway, no backing out now, they'll find out the hard way. Wayne and Lime lock eyes on those skewers like they're about to charge into war, while Cassandra just stares at the food like she doesn't trust a single bite. The moment they take a bite, Cassandra's eyes blow wide with pure shock, and Wayne instantly erupts, yelling that this food is actually incredible. He swears he could chew this forever, and even Cassandra can't hide it. She's staring at how unfairly much he loves that meal, like it's maddening. Cassandra is still reeling, because Shin actually turned those monsters into dinner, so he leans in and explains that his gift tells him exactly how to clean and prep every ingredient. As Angelina ladles out more soup, she leans in and tells Shin he's changed in ways she can't ignore since they started traveling together. Shin isn't convinced, asking if she truly believes it, but Angelina's dead serious. She tells him she's clocked it. Ever since he split from his old party, he's been fighting like a whole new beast. Shen pauses for a beat, then says, "If I've actually gotten better, it's mostly because I finally have people I can truly trust." He tightens his fist and finally admits it. He actually has potential to grow. Angelina glances off to the side and answers in a low voice, but when she glances into her bowl, frustration sparks, because he's come so far without her and it stings. She hears him mutter something and snaps, "Did you say something?" But he waves it off fast, mumbling, "It's nothing," like it's no big deal. Moving on, Shintel pushes the group to start rotating turns and get some rest so they're ready for tomorrow. Then Cassandra suddenly freezes dead in her tracks. Shin hears it too. He cups his ear tight, trying to figure out whether someone's really singing out in the dark. The whole group snaps on high alert as Shin frets that it might just be villagers, and Angelina immediately fires back, asking who in their right mind would be out this late at night. Cassandra decides they've got to go take a look, but Angelina snaps that they shouldn't rush in, just regroup once the barrier's up. Shin grins, says he's got it. And the two of them shove through thorny bushes and tangled grass, hunting down the source. Shin barrels forward and spots an open stretch just up the road, and Cassandra finally realizes the singing they've been chasing is pouring out of that exact spot. As you both close in, Cassandra demands to know what he's seeing, but he goes silent, eyes locked on the trees as he peers through them in a wide clearing under the blazing full moon. They finally lay eyes on something absolutely incredible. The girl stands on a rock with her back turned, and a weird, eerie glow crawls over her like it's got a secret. Her singing voice hits her like lightning, while Cassandra's eyes widen, because it's like even the air around her is glittering, and then the tension snaps for a split second, and that voice hits him like a memory, way too familiar to ignore. He shouts to see if anyone's around, and the girl instantly spirals, terrified he might have really spotted her standing there. Perseus lets out a laugh at himself, thinking he'd nailed the perfect disguise. Then the girl freezes, shocked that Shin actually caught her. Perseus snaps into a dramatic pose and swears it's all the power of love. Then he just leaves the girl frozen in utter silence. Shin starts sweating instantly, realizing he wasn't alone out there. Someone's been hiding in the woods this whole time. Perseus smirks like he predicted it, but when he says he knew it was her, she snaps his name, then tells him flat out that eavesdropping really doesn't suit him. He starts calling her his songstress and gushes that she's still as beautiful as ever, but she recoils hard, looking totally grossed out by him. Perseus drops to one knee and plays the part anyway, even with her snapping that she hates him, so she keeps yelling at him, demanding to know why he's even showing up. He tells her the answer is staring them right in the face, then launches into this wild compliment, saying her eyes sparkle just like the stars. He doesn't stop there, he keeps going, praising her sun-bright hair and insisting those little snaggle teeth are totally adorable. He swears he's only there, so he won't miss a single beat of her beauty, but she's done, utterly done, and Perseus stands there totally clueless, asking his princess what's wrong like he missed the whole meltdown. Huddled in the bushes, the group stares at the scene, and Cassandra blurts out, were those two really the ones singing earlier? While Shin blurts out that he heard princess and knight, he's convinced it's a hidden meeting, and Angelina fires back that it looks like a tense clash between people from different social ranks, like some kind of forbidden romance. Cassandra keeps a sharp eye on them, and the moment she looks closer, it doesn't feel like any fairy tale at all. It just sounds like It's like they're caught in a brutal showdown. Kimono Girl is shrieking at Perseus that he's in the way, while she snarls at the stalker to just go home. But Perseus looks totally hooked. His cheeks are blazing as he blurts, throw more insults at me. He blurts out a total curveball, says he has no idea who they are or where they came from, so just look. Staring straight at their hiding place, he snaps that Eve's slip is exactly admirable, then tells them it's time to crawl out and show themselves. The group snaps to their feet with their hands up, and Angelina blurts out an instant apology, while Shin scrambles to cover it, claiming the singing was so breathtaking he literally couldn't move. Perseus loves the mindset for a second, then his face hardens. He demands to know who they are and why they're roaming the forest. Shin breaks it down he and the others are nothing but adventurers on a job from Corinthos, hunting ingredients to craft a brand new potion. Perseus hears their whole tale, tells them that journey is brutal, and basically offers up his sympathy. Then he leans in and warns them. Them saying they won't find those materials out here in these borderlands. Shin cuts in hard to lay out their side, and that's when he starts making the case that Perseus demanded to know who she was, and Shin lifted a crest, then declared he was Asclepius from the Panacea Guild, saying, he tells her he's hunting rare medicine and came all this way for a one-of-a-kind ingredient. Then the girl in the kimono clocks the crest and immediately realizes. Angelina spots it happening the way she's seen around town, then grabs Shin's sleeve. You sure about this? But Shin steadies himself and insists they should just tell the truth. Then he drops the truth. What he's hunting isn't some random substance, it's the blood of a Gorgon. Perseus snaps completely, raging on the spot, and demands to know what she just said while everyone nearby watches. She mutters the words under her breath, and right away her hands start to tremble. She blurts out what she thinks he meant, and then her hair bursts into hissing snakes, and she screams that the people who kidnapped her sisters. They were aiming right at Chin's crew. Then she screams, that's them, and swears she'll never forgive them. Perseus is spiraling out of control over the kidnapping accusation, while Shin scrambles to explain it's just one massive misunderstanding. But the moment he goes for his weapon, he snaps that talking is pointless, because once a girl is in this state, no logic will ever reach her. He whips out a massive curved sword and tells them to take it as mercy, because in moments, there'll be nothing but rust on his blade. Shin stares at that insane blade, wondering what kind of sword it even is, but he's not about to just stand there and get slaughtered, so Perseus rockets forward in a wild burst of speed, snapping past Shinnof's guard for just a second. Cassandra lunges in and snatches the strike right out of the air, flat out telling him she knew he'd pull something like that, while Angelina just watches, stunned. Perseus spots her hair for a split second, then his whole body locks up and he blurts, wait, are you really a demon? She doesn't give it a second thought and asks him, straight up, if he's finally ready to sit down and talk, because he's got a demon to deal with now. Perseus stops the fight, starts trembling, and spits out that she's pitiful, like she must have suffered just as much to be this way. He locks eyes with her and demands, straight up, if she's seriously claiming she's the one who's the hunter now. Perseus and Cassandra's clash turns brutal, and Perseus grumbles that this fight is going nowhere, just circles, while he's freaking out because he's never seen Cassandra get shoved back like that, and he can already tell Perseus is hauling way faster than any normal beer anchor ever could. Angelina screams Shin, and once she hears her name, she instantly clocks that things are going south fast, especially since Cassandra has to pour everything she's got into every strike just to keep the guy from breaking through. because he can barely hold her off as they slam heavy hits back and forth. She tells Shinji, "Don't worry, I've got this guy," then snaps, "Now quit staring and go help the kimono girl before it all spirals out of control." Shin bursts into a sprint toward her, but the second he's close, the girl snaps her gaze up and declares she's about to unleash her demon eye in her. Her eyes flare with a strange, eerie glow as she screams for him to turn to stone. Shen scrambles to shield his eyes, but he's a heartbeat late. The petrification slams into his arm and races outward immediately. He freezes for a heartbeat, staring at his own hand, now turned totally to stone, feeling the crushing weight of it. It's trapping him in place, and the girl clocks it. He already knew her power, even if he wasn't quick enough to dodge it. Shin realizes that if he hadn't prepped those counters ahead of time, that last move would have turned into a total disaster, and now he's just praying Cassandra and the others are okay. Perseus stands there, smirking like he already won, and he admits that the mirror shield trick actually caught him off guard, while the girl snaps her tongue, visibly pissed. He leans in and grills Shin about what he's planning next, then warns him, "If you actually repent and give back the people you stole, you might just sway the princess into letting Shin walk away alive." But she won't back off, not 1 inch. He snaps at the guy that it's way too soon for grand speeches like that. Perseus snaps, completely loses his cool, staring in shock as Asclepius is still standing, and his brain can't accept it. Why didn't the petrification work? Shin shot a healing spell into his arm, sealing the damage in seconds, and he thanked Angelina for stepping in and saving his life just in time. Angelina yells for Wayne to strike, and that big guy is practically vibrating with excitement to crash straight into the middle of the fight. Shun shouts that they're total lifesavers, then Wayne rockets straight at the enemy, catching everyone off guard as a tiny object drops through the air, proof, loud and clear, that Shin's plan is finally clicking into place. He snatches the girl's arm and makes it clear they're lucky they managed to analyze her power, because that evil eye, it's done. The kimono girl snaps into the conversation and demands everyone holsters their swords for a second, because she refuses to let things spiral any worse. But Shin isn't finished. He tells the crew he's still pushing for a real talk right now, before anyone else gets hurt. He whips around to Wayne and orders him, "Don't kill that guy," and right then the orc cracks his knuckles, grinning like he's got everything under control. Perseus is completely losing his mind. He can't even process that Shin is out here barking orders at an orc warrior like this is nothing. He clamps down on his nerves, swearing that the princess's night isn't the moment to quit. There's no way he can just turn his back and walk away. Wayne doesn't let him catch his breath. He storms forward and slams Perseus into the dirt with one brutal hit before he can even finish. Staring at that fallen knight, someone can't help blurting out, "Was he really worth all that mess we just fought through?" Cassandra snaps her weapon back into its sheath, admitting she couldn't catch her rhythm through that whole chaos, and then, just as Shin shoots his hand out toward the Gorgon girl, he demands she finally sit down and hash everything out, since the fighting's finally done. The girl drops her gaze and finally caves, saying she'll talk, just don't kill her tonight, ending the standoff for good. Shen watches the group finally start to settle down, and the thought hits him, he never even expected it to go any other way. The crew ditches the noise and slips into a quiet water mill house nearby, hidden by a roaring waterfall beneath the moonlight. Right when Perseus barges inside, he slams his head to the floor like a full-on apology, and it turns out he used to run solo as a B-rank adventurer. Cassandra tells him to drop it since they all made it out alive, and Shin stares at everyone and asks if they can all agree. The girl agrees talk it out is the best move, and she wastes no time, decides it's finally time to get down to business. She pushes for a fresh start, real introductions to clear the tension, while they all sit there with Perseus, and he steps forward and calls himself the leader of the B-rank party, the Legion, straight out of the city of Corinth. The girl hands everyone some steaming drinks, praying the flavor hits the sweet spot for them. Shin swallows hard as she stares at him, totally stunned by how fast he's moving in like he owns the place. She leans in close and quizzes Shin, asking if he's secretly a monster tamer, and the question hits him so hard it leaves him completely stunned. Shen clears the air, saying his gift isn't magic at all, it's a universal translator, then a voice from the side snaps back, calling him totally wrong. He pushes on, insisting he can only hear and talk to animals, or monsters too, yet he has zero real power to control them. Medusa listens, then asks, is that really true? Wondering if these creatures tailing Shin are really choosing to follow him, or if something's forcing them. She smirks and tells her, yep, that's exactly it, those are his precious comrades. And Medusa looks totally stunned when she realizes he's telling the truth. Perseus starts yelling that no one can understand the princess, but Angelina snaps at him to shut up immediately. The girl finally drops her act and properly introduces herself, Medusa, from the Gorgon village of Grai, like it's a name that demands respect. Saying her stare used to freeze anyone who met her eyes, turning them to stone, until just recently. She bragged about how effortlessly she crushed that curse, and then Angelina cut in like, easy, just call him whenever you want, but Angelina can't stop thinking about one burning question: what kind of medicine did he use on Chen back there? Shin says he understands the pain, and Angelina shoots back that even the top-tier mages still struggle to smash curses, But she's still totally thrown for a loop by how he steamrolled everything so fast, like he just whipped that potion up on the spot. She confesses she'd never seen anyone pull off a stunt like that when she was still an adventurer, so she dives in, starting to explain that And turns out the secret is staring them right in the face. Medusa spots a few bottles at once, and every single one is a different color. Medusa's eyes go wide, she looks totally baffled and demands what he thinks he's doing, bringing those potion bottles up like that. Shin decides to spill it all for everyone, and Angelina jumps in too, explaining exactly how they trained and prepared for the moment they'd meet a Gorgon. He breaks down how he tweaked every ingredient, tests a bunch of different mixes, and fine-tunes the best one, because he has to stop petrification from wrecking everything. With the petrified mushroom held up, he tells them that after digging into the real analysis results, they tore through mountains of dusty old books and legends for ages, hunting for the one way to make it work, right up until this moment, leading. Angelina leans over the table as the magic circle ignites and glows blazing bright. One fresh drop of the new potion splashes onto the petrified mushroom, and everything just about comes alive. It snaps back to its original form in an instant, and Angelina yells at everyone to lock in and watch the transformation happen right in front of them. Shin stands tall and confident, and at last he drops the truth. His freaky power is called Child of the medicine god which gives him the power to break down and wipe out almost any disease, curse, or poison, and lets him cook the cure himself too. Perseus snaps completely, demanding, "Wait, tell me Shin's really one of those legendary golden fleece guys." It hits him that's why it all felt familiar, while Angelina just sits there, soaking up every word as he stitches the whole story together. Perseus tells him that even back in his far-off hometown, people are already talking about that group like they're rising stars, gifted beyond belief. Shen grills Medusa, asking if his words are finally enough proof he won't pull anything shady with her blood, while Perseus just goes, "Meeting you is an enormous honor." Medusa hesitates and admits the truth. Her blood is infamous for being a straight-up killer, poison the second any human dares to touch it. Shen tells her she's only half right. Then bam, the moment their kind transforms, that poison flips into a blazing healing agent. Shin tells everyone he got fully certain after he inspected the real proof for himself, while Medusa admits that even back in her own village, only a small handful of people truly know the truth about her blood and she still can't wrap her head around it. Somehow, she figured the whole thing out all on her own. Perseus just stands there, visibly blown away, stunned by the fact that the princess's blood was hiding a secret this insane, and he launches into this whole speech about how being a knight is an enormous responsibility, only to have Shin hit him back with, "Yeah, you're something else, all right." Shin pivots the conversation, says he heard Perseus used to be an adventurer, then flat out points out that Cassandra is a top-tier fighter, even among B ranks. So he blurts out, wait, how did Perseus really stop her? Because he's sure his usual sword skills never could have cut it. Perseus admits it was pure luck with the weapon match, and Shin immediately fires back, asking if he means that weird-looking sword just sitting there. Perseus leans in and brags, "This blade, it's called Harp, and I forged it with my own creator, because the point is simple. It's a masterpiece made to turn him into a monster slayer, and that's why. He built it from the start just to survive the Gorgons, then it pulled off a rescue he never even imagined." Shin finally clocks it. This blade isn't just any sword, it's a slayer made to hunt female monsters, and that's exactly why it crushed Cassandra so hard earlier. Shin points out that under normal conditions, a regular monster wouldn't even be able to move, yet. Cassandra doesn't give him a choice. She forces him to unleash his trump card, the mirror shield, and he leans in like, "Yeah, that alone is seriously impressive." Then he whips around to Perseus and asks, why would someone with that kind of skill ever quit, especially when Shin's power is basically a bottomless money drain? Perseus says the city life was wrecking him with stress, and then admits he only returned because his partner's stunt blew up into a massive scandal. Shin winces the moment he hears that, calling it a total disaster, but Perseus barely bats an eye as he keeps going, right in the middle of the line. He laughs it off, insisting it was pure luck, because it somehow guided him straight to his princess, while Shin and Medusa just stand there, frozen, staring with blank faces. The vibes turn tense fast when Shin brings up that ancient non-aggression pact between Danny Village and Madu's hometown, pointing out that back when a handful of folks still loitered to swap goods, that whole hustle had vanished completely by the time he came back. Turns out a nasty sickness tore through the village and killed every last trade, and then boom, monsters started flooding the roads, so nobody could come in or leave. Perseus admits that he knew nothing about medicine, so he handed the healing to the pros and spent every single moment keeping watch. Perseus shoots back into full drama mode, strikes a huge pose, and screams that this is his big, fateful meeting with the songstrip. He tries rambling about the moonlit night, but Medusa cuts him off fast. Shin snaps at him to stop right there because they need to talk. Medusa's face turns grim as she admits people have been vanishing from her village, and no matter how hard everyone searched, they never found so much as a trace. She drops her gaze, looking crushed as she admits the terrifying truth. Her own older sister has vanished too. She plowed on and told me she'd heard a stranger had barged into the human village, so she rushed over, praying she'd finally catch the kidnapper, only to find Perseus instead. She still hasn't uncovered the real culprit, and instead of cracking the mystery, she's stuck with some creepy weirdo tailing her everywhere she goes. So she realized her only shot was to step in as bait, because if she could draw the kidnapper out, she'd finally know what was going on. Angelina scans the road and insists nobody sketchy even shows up, and Shin fires back that Perseus and Medusa are the only two they've seen the whole way. Perseus fires back that nobody in his village is strong enough to kidnap a Gorgon, and that truth makes the whole situation feel even more messed up. Shin clenched his fist as the truth slammed into him. There was only one option left for who was really pulling the strings. Shin snaps his gaze to Angelina as the truth slams into him. If the Gorgons are being taken without a single fight, then someone inside the tribe is a traitor. The moon blazes high above the clouds as the night drags on and the world gets darker by the second. Shin practically jumps out of the carriage and spots Angelina waiting by the campfire, and she praises him for his hard work before leaning in to ask where Asu's hiding. Shin plops down and says he let him crash because he burned through way too much magic. Angelina just nods along, hanging on every word as he keeps talking, saying that even if she'd come ready to throw down, what was happening back there was just too wild. He basically says trying to crack a B-ranked curse on the fly and whip up a cure in the moment is a massive ask, like huge. Angelina locks eyes with her own reflection in her blade, staring at how wildly insane Shin's skills are compared to hers, because she's hit with the brutal truth that she feels completely useless, since she couldn't even buy them a moment, not like she's out there handling magic swords every single day. She clenches her sword tight, glares at the mess she made, and snaps that this whole situation is painfully, stupidly frustrating. She starts spiraling over what happens if they land in a trap like that again, especially if no healer is anywhere near to yank them back from the brink. Suddenly, she rockets upright, eyes locked in pure focus, and tells Shin she's finally figured out exactly what she has to do. Cassandra locks eyes with Shin, resolve burning bright, and vows that even if her special powers are useless, she'll still prove she can stand her ground in a fight, which makes Shin lean in and tell her he's just crazy glad she's got his back as his partner, so her whole world freezes, stunned speechless as. While she scrambles to regain control, demanding to know what flipped a switch in him, Shin won't back off. He keeps his gaze past her, straight toward the future. He lays it out. The world of A rank and higher is exactly where they're headed, and it was Cassandra who finally cracked his blind spot. Cassandra laughs it off and teases him, saying it's only natural since he's the partner of the legendary return of the Demon King. Then Shinji snaps back that her rumors about his size are pure nonsense, but her voice turns sharp again, and she tells you she heard non-stop talk about the Legion on the way here. Turns out the guild has already made sure everyone around Corinth knows exactly who they are, and Shin snaps into focus, realizing the pressure's closing in. He crosses his arms tight, knowing one slip could flip the whole hunt and turn them into the prey. After seeing how big the risk really is, Shin decides he can't just finish the job and walk away. He tells Asu that sure, he'll get the blood she asked for, but what he truly wants is to mend his bond with the Gorgons for good. Building a real bond with the Gree would be a massive win for the Legion down the road. Just sits by the fire, eyes locked on the roaring flames as the night drags on. Cassandra smirks at Shinoff, snaps his guard and taunts him, "Deep down, you're only trying to save those girls," which totally flusters Shin as she bursts into laughter, swearing she always knew, and insisting it's way more like him to snap like that. She tells him don't sweat it, everyone's gonna look at it the exact same way. And a serious fire ignites in her eyes. She makes him swear, if he ever starts to slip into the wrong choice, she'll do anything to stop him, no matter what, so long. If Shin keeps to the right path, she'll be his blade in every fight, ready to swing for him. All he can do is whisper her name back, but then after all that tension, he finally smiles, thanks her, and agrees. Yeah, this is what being partners is really about, right as they seal it with a fist bump. Next morning, Asu bursts out of the tent with a massive yawn, then strides up to greet everyone in the group, and Cassandra pops up and strides right over, greeting her back with a warm smile as she carries over breakfast bowls, fresh and steamy. Wayne shows up too, hauling a huge beast over his shoulders, and then he leans in and asks Shin if he finally got any real rest. Asu flashes a worn-out but radiant smile and tells them she slept like a log because everyone had her back. Everyone crowds around the table when breakfast hits, and it's finally time to dig in. As they chow down, Cassandra leans in and plots the next strike. Danny Village is the foothold, and from there they'll start hunting for intel. They threw everything into tracking down the people who were taken and getting them back. Wayne's all in on the plan, and just like that, Angelina jumps in next, asking everyone what they think about her detailed plans for how they'll spend their time in the village. The crew pushes forward, riding the road toward Danae Village as their carriage rolls up to the entrance. Perseus is already waiting in the middle of it all, shouting out a huge welcome as the Panacea Company members roll up. Angelina flashes a polite bow, then gratefully tells Lord Perseus she can't believe he traveled all this way just to come greet her so. So Perseus orders them to haul the carriage while he forges ahead, promising he'll guide them straight to the chief's place. Shin glances back at the villagers lining the road, watching them go by, and an awkward jolt twists in his gut. They roll up to this massive building, and Perseus leans in, telling them it's the village chief's house, and the spot where the whole town gathers. Boots click on the floor as someone strides up, shouting to the group, "Is Perseus here?" It's the village chief's daughter, Andromeda, who strides in like she owns the place and demands to know, straight up, if Perseus is the one causing all this chaos. Shin asks if she should even get out of bed yet, but Andromeda just laughs it off, saying the special medicine worked like magic, and that she feels totally fine. Angelina steps in mid-conversation, and with perfect politeness, asks Lord Perseus to introduce everyone to each other. Perseus brings Andromeda into the crew, and before she even catches her breath, she whips around to face Shin, asking if he's the adventurer Pell mentioned earlier. She slips right into the disguise, introduces herself like a total standout, and tells him she's a medicine merchant from the city. She fires off a signal to the real Shin and tells him to haul in their usual supplies, right on cue, setting everything in motion, leading to Perseus and Andromeda lean over the glowing crate packed with high-grade loot, and Andromeda can't shake the worry. This doctor, is he really the real deal? Perseus is stunned by how insane the gear looks, while Andromeda fidgets, then blurts out, "Are you sure it's really okay for us to just take all of this?" Shin flashes a warm, steady smile and goes, "This is exactly what we deal in," then insists they take it as a gift, because she wants their new friendship to kick off the right way. Andromeda throws them a grateful smile, then leans in and asks, "So, are you here to see my father?" She orders Pell to lead everyone to the dining room while she storms off to find him, and Pell shoots back that he's got it handled. As they stride along, Shin can't help it. He blurts out, why is she up and moving if she's supposed to be bedridden? She's convinced that miracle cure hides a secret, so she pushes them to talk to the chief first. They finally track down the man in charge, and he rolls out the red carpet, welcoming Asclepius and the guards to his remote home. He introduced himself as Cepheus, the official chief of Danny Village. He tells them don't just stand there after a trip like that, then gestures everyone to sit down. After they finally clink glasses and take a breather, he leans in and says he's certain they've already heard the rumors about what's going on with them. And then he explains it was all trading with the other village, until the Gorgons stormed into a meeting and started mowing people down. Everything was perfectly fine, until Cepheus starts explaining how it all flipped in a single day, and you can tell he's shaken to his core. The chief says he heard a traveling merchant sold the village a special antidote, and right when Andromeda hears that, stress hits her like a wave. He tells you straight up, his daughter was poisoned back then, and he swears she barely made it out alive. He admits it's a total miracle nobody's died yet, but if this trend keeps going, real disaster is right around the corner. Andromeda pivots the conversation. She drops that she heard their escort is a legendary big-deal adventurer, and Angelina nods, claiming he's top tier in the city, and Shin thanks her for the intro, then throws out his name, Meanwhile, Angelina slips the chief a heads up that he runs a beer-ranked party called the Legion. He steps up and introduces Cassandra as their swordswoman, then drops the bomb that she's half demon, and says she's the one partner he trusts more than anyone. Then he introduces Lime. Turns out she's the one who takes care of all the healing for their crew. The villagers stare in total shock, seeing a slime perched on his shoulder, while Perseus just stands there, silently soaking in the chaos. She admits they're allowed to be shocked, but Lime just grins and tells everyone, "I'm not a bad slime." So Shin tells the little guy, "Don't stress, I'm saying this healer is harmless, and you've got nothing to worry about." Shin says there's one more person to introduce, Shwain, an orc warrior who was back there guarding the carriage while everything kicked off in the middle of that little. A little kid from the village steps up, then boldly starts patting the side of the giant beast they hauled in. The kid jerks his head up, and bam, Shwain's terrifying face fills his view, freezing the poor little guy solid with pure shock. Andromeda snatches the kid and yanks him back, while Shwain just freezes there, completely lost at what's happening. The villagers start whispering in panic, grilling Shin like, "So you really tamed monsters and demons?" And Shin just shuts it down. He doesn't have powers that wild. He tells everyone his gift has a name, Devilry, and it's basically a way to earn a demon's trust just by talking to them with real respect. Cassandra panics and blurts out that she can't follow him because of a certain gift, while Angelina just smirks and says she's been backing him since the very beginning. So right then, Shin steps in and offers to save the village from their biggest nightmare, the Gorgons. The chief's shoulders drop with instant relief, and he blurts, "Thank you so much," because they'd literally just been scrambling to scrape together every last coin for a guild request. So Shin asks if they can stand watch there for now, and the chief shoots back that he'll make sure a killer reward is waiting for them. Shen adds with them, making it crystal clear he's got the situation under control, and he's raring to jump into action. A few days drift by as the crew finally sinks into village life, pitching in, training, and helping strengthen the local defenses. A local drops off a bowl of plain soup and a hunk of bread, then blurts out an apology, because this is truly all they've got right now. Shun tells her not to fret, because they've already been stuck chowing down dry rations, so he's weirdly grateful about it. Then the woman says to just yell if they need anything, and Angelina swears she'll speak up the second something comes up. Once they're finally alone, Shin blurts that Shwain and the others are still out patrolling, but he's itching to spill the details, how he's been shadowing the guards for the last few days and hasn't seen a single big group anywhere nearby. Lately, the village hasn't seen a single hint of an attack, and Angelina just calls it out. The local guards are way stronger than anyone thinks. She admits she's honestly shocked that the villagers and the guards clicked with Lime and the others so fast, especially since showing up with a pack of monsters like that was a terrifying gamble, but thank goodness, everything worked out and he can finally breathe. Angelina snaps the conversation into something heavier. She says it's time to dig into the report about the victims from the last incident. Shin wraps up his checkup on Andromeda and the other villagers who got attacked, and Angelina can't ignore it. This miracle cure is insanely high level. But Shin snaps out a point, while everyone looks totally fine to anyone else. Even though the villagers are strutting around like they've got energy to spare, their recovery is nothing but a slick act. He tells them straight up, the poison's still living inside their bodies, and they're just buying time so that medicine can turn on them at any second. And Angelina gets blindsided, blurting out that if Shin can't stop it, then what hope is there, even for someone at his level of power? Shin admits he can handle it, but he swears it's way too risky to tip his cards when they still don't even know who's pulling the strings behind all this. And Angelina has no choice but to sign off, because they're still stumbling around with zero real answers. For now, Shin decides to hand the locals a few cups of his special tea to spike their stamina, mostly so he can mess with whoever pulled this prank. But he's also sure they've got to hunt down the people behind this, now, before this mess keeps snowballing out of control. Here's the big twist. The antidote they used on the villagers wasn't just any antidote, it had a super specific blood type mixed inside. Angelina finally gets how bad this is, and snaps, asking if the attackers are really tied to the village traitor. Shin nods like, yeah, that checks out, especially if this is the same villain who poisoned them before. And Cassandra can't stop thinking about a Gorgon poison user, because she knows this kind of threat is far beyond what any B-rank adventurer should ever face. But she doesn't back down, she surges with energy and declares this is the perfect moment to prove what they're truly capable of. Shin and Angelina are both on board, and right before the next move, they lock eyes and swear they'll give it everything they've got. Angelina fires off, so what's the plan now? and Shin leans in, grinning. He's dead set on tracking down that hidden village. He even starts imagining himself walking straight to the village chief, ready to use his special gift and bargain with the people there. Angelina shoots down the whole mysterious merchant plan and says he probably won't show, so they should stop stalling and charge straight into the lion's den to end this fast. Cassandra says if we're really headed for that hidden village, then we're going to need Perseus, no question. Shin wants to dodge a nasty head-on brawl if he can, but Cassandra won't let it slide. She demands they ready their gear for whatever hits next. The second the group wraps up their plan to move out tonight, a brutal bang slams the door and wrecks the whole conversation. A frantic guy from the village, named Timos, bursts in like a storm, shouting at the top of his lungs that he finally found them. Sweat pours down his face and his lungs burn, but he forces out a desperate shout, "Big emergency, we've got to move now." She grabs him to steady him, tells him to breathe for a second, and demands to know what's really going on, so tell her, right now. So Timo unleashes it, and right on the village's doorstep, this whole horde of trolls has just piled into the forest. Those huge monsters are already tearing through the forest, stomping like they own the place, and ready to smash everything in their way.